me and Ryan have been officially welcomed to the jungle that is Barstool Sports.
Our white whale, Sidney Crosby.
Shave his head! Shave his head! Shave his head!
Ryan Whitney, Paul Bissonette, R.A., Mike Grinelli, Spittin Chiclets!
What is up, folks? Welcome to episode 548 of the Spittin Chiclets podcast, presented to you by Pink Whitney. And Pink Whitney, boys, it was flowing. I don't know if I should admit this or not, but I had a little shot of Pink Whitney before the Amazon coast to coast we all did. We'll get into that, but just to loosen up. All right, here's my drink. Boom. I'm ready to go on TV. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. You can answer me in the comments maybe, but Pink Whitney's where it's at, guys. Keith just showed you the bottle. That's the mid-range bottle. There's the big dog bottle. There's the little Mickey, and then there's the shooters. The shooters is the go-to, boys. You want to go have some fun? Go grab a couple shooters. They got the birdie buckets. We have a new golf match coming out pretty soon with the Bob Does. They were looking for a little rematch the next day, and the Pink Whitney was flowing. So everyone out there, thank you for buying Pink Whitney. Go give it a shot if you haven't. And thank you to Pink Whitney for being the main sponsor of this awesome show that we're so lucky to be a part of. And boys, it was a pleasure being with you guys in Secaucus, New Jersey last week for Amazon Coast to Coast. Great feedback. It was only for Canadian people to watch. That's where it's on right now on Thursdays. And I had a great time. Biz, thank you very much for the invite. I know you two had done it before, but it was nice. We were just catching up. Andy Petrillo, amazing host.
Oh, yeah.
She did a great job, but what'd you think? How'd you think it went, Biz?
Oh, I had a blast. Like the time flew. I mean, it's a 5-hour show. Was it how I described, where it's very fast paced at the beginning and then a little bit more time in the back end to have conversation, dialogue? We talked to Bobby McMahon. We also talked to Boone Jenner, who had suffered an injury coming into the season, but they were going into Stadium Series. So just a great experience. That was my second show. As you mentioned, Andy Petrillo does an unreal job of driving the bus, and just want to thank Amazon for having us on board, as well as obviously Jans, and looking forward to another one. I think the next one I'm on is April 3rd, and a concept that I hope that they adapt to in the United States as well. Like right now, you said it's only available in Canada for Canadian viewers on Amazon Prime. But moving forward, I guess you could call it somewhat of like a Manning cast / red zone. That would be the example that I would use. So, Jans, I had a blast, always do with you. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, I loved it. I think adding every time I've done it has been with two people and then Andy. And like you guys said, Andy's an unreal bus driver. I think the three guys, I think it really helped out. And like you said, because it does get long, but you're telling stories, Wit's telling hilarious stories. So that was the best time I've had doing it. Not that I didn't have good times the first two times, but I thought it was amazing. Just slinging it around with you guys, and even just hanging out in the hotel after, getting bottle of wine after the show. It was a blast, and hopefully we have the opportunity to do it again. But like we just talked to Ryan Kesler, and you talk about these kids' attention spans, and I think a show like that is perfect for it, where you're watching the game, but it's a little bit more than the 5-second clip. You're actually watching how plays develop, and we're touching on it and stuff like that. So I think for the development part of the game, I think it's a great show, and then the entertainment part's amazing too.
And for the American people who didn't get to witness, I got just truck stick the whole show. It's like, hey, want to come do this show with us? Yeah, great. All right, we're gonna make fun of you for 5 hours. I was begging these producers. It was a roast. It was like
Amazon roast to roast.
I was like, is Nikki Glazer gonna pop out of the door and just?
I hope so.
I was begging the producers to show one of my goals. I was like, guys, I had 50 goals in my career. You're showing me get lit up by Mike Komisarek. You're showing me fall over by a 2x4 and bury Marc-Andre Fleury. You're ripping on me constantly, but you know what? Sometimes you just got to be the butt of the joke. Biz, what was your saying? Or Keith, if you can't
take a joke, you become a joke.
Yeah, and I guess I am a joke while also being able to take a joke. So I hope at some point
you're double dipping.
Then they were showing lookalikes of you in the stands.
Oh.
They were all over you.
That was the icing on the cake. Your first show, that's what happens. Even my first show, although Jans, that was your first show, and I felt like I was getting it more than you were.
It wasn't my first.
Oh, okay. Did you get torched on your first one?
No, God, no.
Yeah, because he's
No,
in the
I'm just kidding.
producer's
Yeah, I did.
pocket. He's like, yeah, he's bringing the producer Pink Whitney. They put a guy. I mean, it looked like a guy from Rockland with a green shirt on, and I had a green shirt on. I mean, how much
Nice rollback.
how much we looked alike. I was just like, yeah, I got a rollback on that's green. This guy has a green shirt on. All of a sudden, I mean, you guys, you spit out your drink, Biz, laughing when they showed this guy on TV. So it was great.
I can't
And
even concentrate now that you said Nikki Glazer. She gets me going.
Really?
Oh, you think?
DM
She
her.
had like one of the biggest glow ups in Hollywood over the last 18 months.
I
She's
think
a
that
fucking
Brady
missile.
roast is actually huge for. I think she kind of popped off after that. That's where she crushed
she
it.
was big and touring before that, but that Tom Brady roast put her to a different level. Like where every time she's going to a different city, she has to do like 2 or 3 shows because they're all selling out. She's a hot ticket right now, and I feel like comedy really had a resurgence, and it still is. Like even with oh God, how am I drawing a blank on this guy? He's like the main guy now. Just did SNL again with Tate McRae.
Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis. Thank Gillis.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like they're even starting to bring like the racial jokes back in, like which like I feel like it's really taken a turn. Like the one this past weekend was like kind of aggressive, but ultimately, yeah, comedy's getting back to comedy, and people are starting to be able to take a joke again now that COVID's over.
The couple of beers segment on SNL was one of the funniest.
So funny.
Couple of beers, and then like he's in the stands. His kid strikes out. He's like, "You can't suck at sports and school. What did I need to become a better dad? A couple of beers."
How about the wife? The wife, hey, come over here and have a seat. We're gonna talk to you. He's like, nope.
Feeling drowsiness? Grab a
Couple bumps.
A couple of bumps. Or a key bump. And then what was the other? Oh, before he gets the couple of beers prescription, he's like in the office. He comes over and there's like 4 people working. They're like, "What do you want?" He's just a loser. The couple of beers changed his whole life. But an amazing skit. Check that one out online. And during Coast to Coast, we were actually trying to get JVR on, James Van Riemsdyk. Keith had played with him in Philly. Was telling us some hilarious stories. And if you didn't catch the story on Instagram that we put out, Keith, retell the story of when he would sleep on the plane.
Yeah, so they used to call our because me and him sat next to each other and we both slept on the plane, but he slept more than anyone I've ever met. Soon as he got on the plane, it was his winter hat over his eyes, out cold from before you take off, just sleeping, mouth open. He's a mouth breather, obviously. He's like sleeping like this. So I just used to lace his mouth with like, Mike and Ike's or something, whatever candy I had. It was mostly Mike and Ike's, and I just put them all around. The most I ever got in his mouth was 7. And he'd be sleeping, and then, he'd maybe some of the drool got down his throat. He tasted a Mike and Ike. He would just open his eye, look at me, and just chew away, eat them, and then go back to sleep. The guy is all
What a
time.
dream that would be.
And then, Biz, we got back to the hotel. Keith and I ordered a pizza, had some wine, and we're hanging out. The other story you told had me crying, laughing in the locker room when AV was losing it, laugh. JVR sounds like a cartoon.
Oh, he seems like the man.
He's the best. And so he's one of those guys like Brent Burns, has a backpack full of stuff. He's got like every single gadget you could imagine. He rolls up with everything. His locker, and Biz, you know how I am. You play with me. I don't like when anyone stuffs over my side.
Don't cross the line.
Don't cross the line. I used to put the line, like Scott Lawton on the other side of me would come over the line. So I'd put the piece of tape and just remind him for a couple days. But so he would just have shit everywhere in his locker, hanging up behind him. Like he's sitting on pads. I'm like, dude, you got to get rid of some of this stuff. Like it's a bad look. This is the first day of training camp. Coach comes in, AV, team meeting, going over, what you expect in the year. How, we're all bought in, Stanley Cup or bus, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden you just hear, boom. This dude had so much stuff in his stall, it broke down and he fell down. And I look over and he's looking up at me like, and when like your ass gets stuck down and like your legs are kind of up. He couldn't get up. The whole room is crying, laughing. And AV has one of the best laughs. You can look up his laugh when Vern Fiddler's making fun of Bieksa. You just like, it's an infectious laugh. So he started laughing. The whole team starts laughing. He has to walk out of the room. Trainers are coming in to like see what happened to JVR. He's still sitting in there. It, you know, kind of loosened up the mood a little bit for that first day jitters. But it was every day with this guy. It was something.
Unreal.
He's just all time.
You know what that reminds me of is I'm going to get criticized, and I always get tweets like, "Oh, you sit down to pee." It's like, shut the fuck up. Who cares? I love sitting down to pee. I don't want to stand up. But like in the middle of the night when the lights are off and the seat was up, like and then you go to sit down and then your ass ends up in the toilet and you got the cold water on your
That's
hoop.
what it was like.
That's kind of what it reminded me of when I was just thinking of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love sitting down to pee, Biz.
Love sitting down.
Is that considered? Are we not men?
I'll sit on my phone for 10 minutes after taking a piss, and the
10
next thing you know,
hours.
I'm getting up, my legs are asleep.
Yeah,
I don't stand up till my feet are tingling.
Yeah.
I think once you have kids too, it's like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, and then like your wife's like, Ryan, sorry. I was just I was taking care of business. Sorry, it took me a little while. You're like hiding like that movie. What movie is that? Paul Rudd. He's just sitting in there. His wife's losing. He's watching his iPad.
This is 40.
This is 40. Yeah, great flick.
That's me in a couple weeks, boys. I know you guys.
I know.
I think G's coming to my birthday party. I'm gonna have a little Pink Whitney cocktail and shooter bar, so you'll be there in spirit.
Are you?
Yeah.
So how many people? I think you said what, 30 to 40 people expected?
No, I think like 60 are coming down from Canada. I think by the time at my house, I'm going to have about 100 people, and they're just finishing up the backyard now. So yeah, I would say probably about 100 people, like some local people, like Tyson Nash will come by, Ray Whitney. I don't know if Donor's going to be in town. He's obviously on the road all the time now with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But yeah, I'm excited, man. It's going to be a hell of a way to kick off 40, and I'm pumped. I'm not a huge birthday guy. I'm doing a collab birthday with Jackie the Alien. I think you've met her, Jans. I don't know if you've met her, Whit.
No, I haven't.
But you know, it'd be a good time to see all my friends in the midst of the season, which I usually don't. Only in the summertime up in Vancouver. So super thrilled. Got the Pink Whitney stand, and I'm not gonna drink. No, I'm off.
Wow.
I don't even know if I'll ever go back, man. I love not drinking now.
Yeah.
You just feel healthier. You just feel until the L5S1 every month goes, you're just a rock.
Yeah, exactly. I've been all right lately with the L5S1.
Do you change some things up?
I just been making sure I stretch a little bit more, not going too heavy with the weights. Yeah, no, that's pretty much all I got.
This is 40, dude. This is 40. Can't wait. Keith's next. Keith's got about 3 years though. He's a lot younger than us, Biz. Or 2
What are
years.
you, in 88?
86.
No, I'm in 86. I got
86.
Yeah, I got 2 years.
I can't believe that. I'm 42 now, guys. I'm the old man in the group. Who would have thunk it? Jesus Christ. I feel old. I look older. But you know what? At least we're doing Spittin Chiclets. And that kind of brings us to this week. One of the biggest weeks of the year, every year, is trade deadline week. And this week's kind of wild because I think there's so many different names in play. It could be a giant, crazy deadline week, or it could kind of be a bust. Who knows? But there's a lot of teams that still think they're in the mix for the playoffs. They still have a chance of getting in and going on a run. Actually, Game Notes, they're doing a live show on Friday from 1 to 3 Eastern. The deadline ends at 3, I believe. So those guys are going to have very special guests. They're going to have a ton of people popping in. They're going to be going over what has happened all week and that day. I always feel for the guys, and I know, Biz, you'll be at Sportsnet for their trade deadline special. You see the trades go on and happen before Friday, and you feel for the guys like you and James Duthie and all these guys who are hosting all day.
Yeah,
It's
I feel
tough.
like they've prepared nowadays where they bring in so many different guys. Well, they'll do different segments. They'll start slinging around the stories like, "Hey, what's your trade story?" I'm like, "Well, no one wanted me, so I didn't get dealt. What about you guys?" But it's going to be a great day getting to see all those guys. I love going back up to Canada and especially Toronto and mucking it up with the crew. So it'll be good. And kind of alluding to what you said with like Jim Nill talked about it. He's like, well, it might not be as crazy because you have the Eastern wild card race where fucking 8 teams think they're in the mix. So maybe they're holding on to these assets. So I can't wait to go over it with you guys, rumor boy style, who you think teams are going to move off from, who has been moved so far. Obviously, a massive trade went down the other day between Chicago and Florida. So I'll throw it back over to you, Whit. Let's hop into this bad boy and create some more rumors and stir up some controversy.
So the party began, and Kyle Davidson in Chicago, he traded Seth Jones. He made it very clear, didn't want to be there anymore. Came out in the media, said it. Kind of gave the team a tongue lashing after that game. I don't think it was against Vegas. I don't remember. It might have been against Utah, where he's like, we are the same exact team as game one. And it was just quite obvious that where he was at in his career, he was ready to move on. And dude, Bill Zito in Florida went out and they grabbed him. Chicago traded Seth Jones in a 4th rounder to Florida for a 1st-round pick in 2026. It says 2027. Gee, make sure of that. I thought it was 2026, but maybe 2027. Either or. And Spencer Knight. I thought this was kind of a great deal for both sides, personally.
Same.
Like, I look at Florida now. My first question, Keith, you're kind of around that team and see them a little bit more than us, but it was almost like, oh, why didn't you sign Montour, right? Now, you're looking for Montour's replacement, and you got him, but you could have just signed a guy that you won the Stanley Cup with. But for Chicago to retain, I think it's $2.5 million. So Florida's getting a $7 million player in Seth Jones, plays about 25 minutes a night the past 4 years. They needed help on D since Montour was gone and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And then for Chicago to get a young goaltending prospect who's had success in the NHL. Keith, I'll start with you in terms of Florida. Like, what did you think of the deal, and how do you think Seth Jones will fit in there?
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a great deal for both sides, especially the fact that, Seth Jones came out and said he wants to be traded, and the fact that they were able to get a young goaltender. Spencer Knight's 23 years old. He's been in the league now for, I think, 4 years. So it's like he's seen it. He hasn't really got the opportunity. I know he missed some time for some mental health issues and stuff too, but at the end of the day, he's been in Florida around a winning culture, around a future Hall of Fame goalie. I think he's going to bring them a lot of success, hopefully. And, when you're rebuilding, if you don't have a goalie, you can't do shit, right? I mean, I know they have Connor Bedard, a 1st overall pick. Hopefully he's a generational talent, but you have to have a goaltender. And to get a 23-year-old goaltender who's a 1st-round pick, I think it's great. He's really good at playing the puck, which I think it's going to help them, not spend as much time in their own zone.
Help their brutal D.
Yeah, help their brutal D that they just got worse at. But just going to Seth Jones too, it's like you look at a guy like him, like he's had a great career already, and he's only 29 years old, and or maybe 30, but it's one of those things. He's gonna, especially after being in Chicago the last couple of years, he's gonna be like, okay, this is my time to win. This is my opportunity. I'm coming to a winning organization, a team that's committed to winning, and I think you're gonna just see his stock just go higher and higher. And absolutely love the trade. I think they've needed a right-handed D-man. Like you said, since losing Montour, their power play hasn't been great this year. I think it's bottom 5 in the league, and it's just one of those things where if you can go out and get an all-star defenseman like they did in Seth Jones, and he's not just a skill guy that's gonna give you power play minutes. He's playing hard minutes. He's playing a lot of minutes. He's really good defensively and really good offensively. So I think it's a home run deal for Florida. They beef up the back end, and I don't think they're done. I think they're going to go out and get another a depth forward as well. But really love this trade for the Cats.
Yeah, great breakdown, Jans. A lot going on online, obviously. Chicago fans saying that this guy's washed up. They have no clue what it's like for a player of that caliber to be playing 24, 25 minutes a game, playing on a team like that. And it's like, it just shatters your confidence. He's going to be a completely different player in Florida. In a perfect world, Chicago has to retain probably 50%. That would have been ideal for the Florida situation. But I would imagine Dallas was kicking tires on this too. So Chicago had a lot of leverage in the sense, I'm sure a lot of teams wanted Seth Jones. So a great trade for Florida. I don't think he's going to be playing 24, 25 minutes there. I think he's going to be slated in the 21, 22, perfect. not as difficult of line matchups, or if he does have the harder line matchups, at least some nights they can relieve him of that, right? Where there was nowhere to hide for him. He was clearly the best defenseman on Chicago for the last few years. Is a $9.5 million tag ideal for Seth Jones? No. The same way it isn't for fucking Darnell Nurse, but that's the reality. But as a $7 million defenseman and him going to play there and having other guys around him, I think he's going to fit in seamlessly and perfect. Going back to your Montour comment, it's like sometimes, looking back, hindsight, they probably should have signed him and kept him, but they probably thought they could move on from him. They clearly see that there's a hole there, so now they got to refix it again. And they still have an unreal forward group with really good depth down the middle. And when Tkachuk's healthy, a pretty lethal top six. Going back to the Spencer Knight thing, I think that also relieves a little bit of pressure for Chicago, where they could probably move on from Mrazek. There's got to be a lot of teams kicking tires on him, man. He's a hell of a goalie. Fuck with your Edmonton Oilers should be kicking tires on him. He'd be the starter in a fucking heartbeat.
I think he makes like 4.5 though, and they can't retain any more money.
No, but you could get a third. You could get a third party. You could get a third party to like take some of the money, because that's why Chicago can't retain anything else. They did third party retention for Rantanen, correct?
Correct.
And then they did it with Seth Jones. I don't know who their third one is. If you could look that up, G, why they have no more of that available. But I was interested in and to see Seth Jones go there. It did make total sense. And then also, like, Zito was in Columbus when he was there. He knows his game. Now, it was a while ago, but he still knows what he's getting as a guy, as a person. And I think, like, to go from Chicago, just a horrible team, right? There's nothing. And to go to
Ryan
Florida,
Kesler's 15-year-old team might be able to beat them.
Yeah, we interviewed Kess.
They're playing next weekend.
Oh, they are?
It's a scrimmage for Little Caesars before the Nationals. But to go from Chicago and what that's been like, just exhausting to be a guy on the team. I was on a team like that in Edmonton for a couple years. It beats you down. And to now go, not only is he going to a cup contender, last year's cup champs, he's going to the weather. He's going to the way they go to the rink. They got their golf carts. They're driving over to the brand new, beautiful practice facility. You're just thinking about winning a Stanley Cup. It's like, mentally, this guy as a player will be in such a different spot. And he doesn't have to completely carry like all the minutes, all the load. And now you go him and Mikkola, and then you go Ekblad and Forsling. Like, they could just roll the top four all game.
That's
right?
a big fucking back end too, man. That's what they want. Big mutants. You win your puck battle. You great first pass, and then get it into the forward's hands and see you later. That's all they're looking for right now.
Jones also played 4 years with Bob too, and I know it's a small thing, but I remember getting traded to New York and having played with Mike Smith for a while. Like, the goaltending tendency is how they want to take 2-on-1s, little things like that, like where they want you if there's a pass coming from the corner, just little things like that. I think is going to help him immensely too, and it'll help him early too. I know he's a smart enough player where everything's going to come to him, but I think you're going to see him right away kind of pick up where he's where we know he can be.
I was just surprised with online to see all these idiots just write off Seth Jones because his under the hood numbers, as Pasha likes to call it, weren't good in Chicago. Like, I played for the Saginaw Spirit, where we had tough teams, kind of like you mentioned with the Edmonton Oilers. I think in the first half of my last year of junior, I was like -21, -22. You know, obviously having all the hardest line matchups because I was the top defenseman on that team. Not a big deal at that point in my career. Well, I get traded halfway through the year to the Owen Sound Attack. I think I finished the season like +3 or 4. It's just like a whole different ball game playing around guys where you round the net, you snap the pass to the half wall, and they're executing and making the play to get out of the zone because they have good center support. Where, fuck, man, all of a sudden that guy loses his battle, it's back in your end, and then all of a sudden you're tallying up all these fucking analytics numbers where, oh, he looks brutal, he's in his own end the whole time, and oh, look at his offensive ability's gone down too. It's just like, buddy, they're a dog shit team. It's going to completely flip all that stuff upside down, and there's no world that exists where Seth Jones not a $7 million defenseman. He's going to be just fine. He's going to look exactly like he did when he was a prospect coming in with the Nashville Predators, and then the same way he did with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So a great trade for Zito, but also looking at Chicago, Great asset management. They're probably going to move on from Donato. They're probably going to move on from Mrazek, and they're going to stockpile picks. They're going to have a shit ton of cap space, and they're going to go on, I'm sure, in 2-3 years and have success. So that's how you got to do it. You got to strip it to the ground and rebuild, especially if you're in Chicago's case, because they'd already done it with the Hagel, the fucking who else moved on? Dylan Strome. Like, if they took that approach, they're doing it the right way by stripping it to the ground.
Grinelli, thank you for finding this. It's Jake McCabe is the other player that they are retaining on. So that's their 3 retainments that doesn't allow them to do it any further with Mrazek if they do move on from him. We talked about this on Coast to Coast. Interesting to see. I kind of talked about Crosby's second year. Now he had Stahl, he had Malkin, he had Gaunch. It was way different, but to see Chicago be such sellers Bedard's second year, I think it really crushes that fan base where it's like, oh, his second year, we're going to be going, we're going to be coming. And it's been the exact opposite of that. So we'll see where it goes. And we've been very hard before Keith was on this show on Bill Zito, based on kind of what happened with you and possibly being a scratch in Florida, Keith. But to give him credit, he's now brought in Sam Reinhart. He's brought in Sam Bennett. He's brought in Brandon Montour in his time as GM of the Panthers. And I think now they are on the path to possibly having a chance of repeating. Now, it wasn't all good news. Bill Zito came out and mentioned that Matthew Tkachuk is heading to LTIR and will not be back for the regular season. They're just hoping to have him ready for the playoffs. Didn't even sound like he's that confident he'll be ready for playoffs. Now, on the bright side, they now have $8.7 million in LTIR cap space. So I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done at all. Now, what they end up doing, if it's a depth player, but they can kind of go big game hunting on a rental as well. I just don't know how the team's going to fare in trying to win this division at the end of the season without Matthew Tkachuk.
Winning that Atlantic.
Dude.
By the way, go look at the win streaks right now for each of the top three teams in the Atlantic. Like, that is, if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you want to grab that top spot and have Tampa Bay, who's won 8 fucking games in a row, and you know they're going to go find something at the deadline. You know they're going to go find that Nick Paul or that Blake Coleman or that Brandon Hagel. They're savages. They're pushing all the chips in. And going back to Zito, you just won the Stanley Cup last year. Like, you're playing with the house's money. This is your window to win now. So just keep pushing them in. And what does he have to lose? Absolutely nothing. Because even if he does it and he gives them a chance to win and they don't, nobody gives a fuck. He's got a Stanley Cup. He brought him a championship.
Yeah, I believe Zito's first draft, I could be wrong, but I think he took Spencer Knight in the first round and then the goalie Levi, and he's traded both those goalies, one for Sam Reinhart and one for Seth Jones. Pretty amazing stuff. Like, if you're getting, and I don't think that Levi's kind of been where he, was expecting to be, but he's also playing in Buffalo. But yeah, pretty impressive moves by him, and yeah, he's done an unbelievable job down here in South Florida.
Don't they have of back-to-back drafts, like 5 of the top 8 picks? Like, so like 1 year they have 2 of the top 4 picks, and then the next year they have 3 of the top 4 picks.
Yeah, Barkey and Seth Jones, and then the other one's like Reinhart, Ekblad.
Drawing a blank on the other one.
Bennett.
And Bennett.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
That is
unreal.
Nuts.
Just collecting Pokemons.
Biz mentions Tampa. It's been incredible. They have won 8 in a row. They're 9-0-1 in their last 10. The Panthers are 8-2-0 in their last 10, and the Leafs are 8-2-0 in the last 10.
5 in a row, baby.
At one point, it kind of looked like Ottawa had a chance in the top 3 of the Atlantic. Ottawa ended up losing 5 in a row in regulation, I believe. So it's pretty set in stone now, the top 3 teams in the Atlantic. I was amazed looking over numbers today. Tampa Bay has the 3rd best goal differential in the NHL this year at plus 55.
Vasilevsky's kicking, boys.
I know.
They are looking dangerous.
You don't want to see him in playoffs.
No.
Boys, the rumor boys are hearing Alex Tuch too. Alex Tuch's name is mentioned a lot with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think that would be a great addition.
Yeah, you know who I was thinking is, because we talked about the year they brought in Coleman, they brought in Nick Paul, they brought in Hagel, and I think of those 3 players, and I kind of think of Scott Lawton. You know what I mean? Like a little dirt dog. He can play second line. He can play third line. And one of the funniest goddamn tweets I've ever seen from a player this year. he dropped a picture of the Last Supper, and he said
In
he had no
Winnipeg.
idea it was going to go that viral, but he was out to dinner with all the training staff, and it's, I think it's their last road trip before the deadline, and they put this picture together that is just the exact replica of the painting, The Last Supper. Like, I don't even know what filter they used to make it look so good. But
I think they went
hilarious.
fish lens. Yeah, this guy's a cartoon character. Now, I'm sure you like when you were playing there, you knew some of those trainers if they were around. Like, obviously, a nice gesture, probably saying his goodbyes, knowing that he's going to get dealt.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was that. I just know he's a good guy and takes the trainers out to dinner. He's just that type of guy. The picture was absolutely hilarious, and I agree with you. I think he could be a great fit on any team, but especially Tampa. But I thought Tampa was going to throw the old Pokemon reverse and bring Yanni Gord back.
That is, I know, holy.
Because I feel like they're the bottom. They love bringing in the bottom 6 guys, to kind of revamp their lineup a little bit. But anyone who gets Scott Lawton is going to enjoy him if he does get traded on and off the ice, but in all time. And I don't think he's smart enough to know that it would go that viral, or I don't think he's smart enough to know if he was going to get traded that the Last Supper, that would kind of be like that. I think it was just him being hilarious. And
he still doesn't
You
get
think
it.
he didn't throw that up regarding the trade or any trade?
No, he
I
said
think
Fuck out of here.
He said that he's like, it's just me having fun after hearing my name in rumors for like 3 years, I think is what he said.
Okay.
But I sat next to him at Kevin Hayes' wedding. Holy shit, Yance. He is as advertised. Just a hilarious guy. His
Fuck
laugh,
that. I
too.
want him on the Leafs now.
Yeah.
I know, he'd be unreal in the Leafs.
Well,
too.
hey, I mean, considering we bring up the Leafs every goddamn podcast, I think that's a perfect segue. You look at top teams in the East, like Toronto's got to do something now. Like Tanev's hurt right now. Matthews not quite looking like himself. I don't know if he's still battling the back. But I think all roads lead to Braden Shen. I don't know what the asking price is going to be, but I think that if they can solidify that second line center role and really relieve pressure from John Tavares. And mind you, JT has had an unbelievable season. I've been so happy with him, even going back to last year's playoffs. I thought he was excellent. Max Domi filled in last year at center, given the shenanigans that were going on in the first round with the Leafs too. He was snapping back draws. He was putting up points. But like, if we're looking at truly competing for the Eastern Conference and trying to come out of there, and if they do end up playing, especially if they have to play Tampa or Florida in the first round, you have to find at least one more piece up front. And to me, I think Braden Shen is the perfect answer. He's proven Stanley Cup champion. He's a honey badger. He'll fight if he has to. He'll block shots. A great locker room guy. Fuck, bring his brother into. Bring the Bash brothers. Because we need all the help we can get now that fucking Florida's pushing all the chips in again. And they're the cap circumcisers.
Did you bring up Tanev? Did you bring up Brandon Tanev?
Well, Tanev's hurt right now. I don't know when he's set to come back, but
Brandon Tanev. Bring Brandon Tanev over.
Oh,
buddy, you want to talk about playing Florida? And Merles is on the record as saying Florida will fucking eat Toronto if they play. He swears his reputation that Florida will bully them all around the rink. Brandon Tanev's a guy. He's got speed. He's in your face. He hits like a Mack truck.
Turbo.
That's a guy. Turbo.
That's a good
That's
one.
a guy who maybe Toronto's looking at now. Yeah, there's just so much that could go down this week. Biz, I did see this on Twitter. Loch Ness Monster. It popped up on like my For You section. In fairness, he's a Canadiens fan. But of the 16 teams currently in a playoff position, the Toronto Maple Leafs are currently 9th in goals against, 9th in goals for, 12th in Corsi, 13th in expected goals for, 6th in expected goals against. These are ranks out of 16 teams. Other than having great goalies, how is this team any good? So now that's a Canadiens fan, but he's pointing out some things that of the 16 playoff teams, like, I don't know how good the Leafs are. Now, I would just love if the Leafs lost in the first round. If the Leafs lose in the first round this year, I'll cry. Tears of joy. Like Ryder Wyatt Cal being born. Tears of joy. These scrubs can't even win this year because I'll say this is their best team. This is the best team I've seen the
I'll
Leafs have.
fucking send Squanto to boot camp if they lose in the first round. He better be pulling his weight too.
I sent him. I sent him yesterday. It
Oh.
was a long weekend in Enfield, Connecticut. I had enough.
I'll send him to play for Ryan Kessler's team.
I actually sent him to Mutt Cuts. You know the dogs that the dog buses that come pick up all the dogs. He was in that bus.
Okay.
He was chilling with all of them. So Grinelli's mentioning here that Elliot Friedman said the Leafs will poke around on Rantanen. Now that's another guy we could chat about. Actually, first,
I have one question for Biz.
Oh, here we go. Stir it up, Jens. You fucking asshole.
No, just you would put Shin on the second line over JT, even though what JT's done this year.
I just think that you could switch him up. Like if you want to escape JT and allow him to play against a third line center where he could expose him and provide a little bit more offensively. Maybe they have a second line center, whoever their opponent is, who has a lot of speed, where maybe he's not the fastest of foot. Mind you, Anson brought up a good point on the broadcast. Like, he gets a decent amount of breakaways, and when he gets them, he never gets caught. So maybe it's just kind of like the Yager with the black tux where he looks slow, but he's actually not, and it's deceiving, kind of like me, right? I had a short, choppy stride, but I had the quick feet. So maybe that's what it is, but I just think that anytime you can have strength up the middle, especially if you're going against Florida, I mean, you got fucking Barkov, one of the best in the league. You got Sam the Bennett Menace, and then who's their third line center? Lundell?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude, he's big, he's fast, like he's coming into his own. So that's a triple threat. So it's kind of like how LA last year, they tried to combat having to go against the Vegas Golden Knights, where they had Eichel, they had William Karlsson, and then who was the other one they had who got traded to Seattle? Was it Stevenson?
Wah.
He signed in Seattle, Chandler Stevenson.
They had Chandler Stevenson, and then they had Roy. So you're trying to build your roster to who you're going to end up going against. And in Toronto's case, man, fuck, the way that Tampa's going, it might be Toronto and Florida playing in the first round. Who knows, right? To me, that first spot in the Atlantic, if Toronto can get it, I think that for sure they're going to the Stanley Cup Finals. I think that,
really?
Buddy,
Wow.
I think that, keep in mind here, okay? I think that if they make a big move, I still think from a top to down roster, they're going to be stronger than Tampa Bay is. Maybe if they're not, and they're similar or even a little bit weaker roster wise than Florida, if they have to go against Tampa in the first round, they're going to beat the wheels off each other. And they've played a lot of hockey in the last 2 years, boys. Stanley Cup Finals the year prior against Vegas, all the way last year to the dance to beat the Oilers. And now this whole season, most of their guys going to 4 nations. Like, that's a lot of fucking hockey. If Toronto can solidify the first place in the Atlantic Division, mark my words, they are going to the dance. They're going to the dance.
You're right.
They're
huge
going to the
win
dance, baby. Woo!
They got to win it. They got to win the Atlantic.
How's that for an answer to your question, Yance? You want to
That's
stir
great.
my pot, boy?
Yeah, I don't think there's. I think you could argue the Central, but those two clearly are like the divisions that you need to win, right? Because you gotta try to dodge one of the Florida teams if you're Toronto in the first round.
No doubt.
It's just
No
like
doubt.
and it's kind of a win-win for us fans because you get, if Toronto does win the Atlantic, you get Tampa, Florida in the first round, which was a legendary series they played a few years ago. And then if not, you get Toronto against Tampa. Like, that'd be awesome. It's just one thing to have to beat that many good teams starting in the first round. And that's nothing against Detroit, Columbus. And I have a big apology to Columbus fans coming up in a little bit. But yeah, it's very interesting to see what the Leafs are going to do.
Can
But
I let you guys know, like, my darkest thought? Could you guys act as my therapist for just a 1 minute here?
Yeah, why don't you lay down on that couch?
There, I'm gonna lay down.
Okay.
My biggest fear is that they draw Tampa or Florida in the first round, they lose, and Mitch Marner has 10 points. And then all of a sudden you got to give him $15 fucking million. We shit the bed. We're the laughing stock of the league again, and we're in cap hell. So if that happens, take my shoelaces away. No more staying at the Four Seasons in Atlanta on any floor above the second floor. And I don't know what else I'll do to myself, but it won't be good.
Yeah, that would be crazy, man. But if they lose in the first round, even if he lights it up, it might just be like, we got to overhaul everything, man. It might just be like, we got to let him go. We got to try to sign Rantanen, and if he's not signed, there's so many storylines going into this year's playoff, like any other year. Colorado made a move, though, boys. The Rangers.
Wait. I want to say one more thing. I want to say one more thing. If Toronto loses in the first round this year,
no, don't do this, buddy. You say all these things, you don't do them. So don't do it unless you mean it.
I've done everything other than chop my Forsey off, and that was because the doctor told me not to because of potential disease. Now, I'm going to hand back my ambassador jacket to Brandon Shanahan if the Leafs lose in the first round.
I thought they already tried taking it back.
They did, but I didn't give it back, and I said that I would be handing it back if they lose in the first round this year.
Now,
and you're done forever with them?
That's what I'm going to say. Are you?
No,
you should be done forever. You should be done forever. If they lose in the first round this year,
I'm not willing to make that promise. I'm going to text Brandon Shanahan so I don't I don't want to catch him off guard tomorrow when he listens to the podcast, because he listens to every episode. I'll be handing back my jacket, and I just think that I should separate myself to that degree, not to completely cut ties, but I feel like I wouldn't be worthy of being basically in management with them. Why are you laughing?
Basically,
you don't think I'm part of the round table?
No.
Who do you think
hand
brought
back
in
that
Chief?
jacket? If I was you, I would hand back that jacket. I'd FedEx that jacket today after this podcast, and that's what'll get them to win a cup, is getting rid of you. Because as much as we've talked, like, you're a mush. You're a mush. Like, you hop on teams, they lose. I'm on the Kings, boom, Oilers smash them. Toronto can't win since 90. Like, you're a mush. The one team you made your name with isn't even a goddamn team in the NHL anymore. Like, you're the true mush of the pod, man. So if I were you and I really cared about the Leafs, I'd send that ambassador jacket back. I would send that thing as fast as humanly possible, and then they'd have a chance.
You know what I should do with it?
Bring it with you when you go to Sportsnet and
you know what I
drive it
should do
over
with
to
it?
Leafs.
What?
I should give it to my my son. Hockey
Squanto?
Illuminati. Who'd you say?
Squanto.
No. I think I should send it to Hockey Illuminati.
Dude.
They'd still think it was you wearing it. You guys are identical twins.
No. He's my love child.
He's still looking for signs that it's the year. He's with Jersey Jerry. The signs. The Rangers traded Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey to the Avalanche in exchange for Calvin DeHaan, Juuso Parssinen, a 2025 second rounder, and a 2025 fourth rounder. Pretty funny. Calvin DeHaan does a press conference after traded over to the Rangers and mentions that basically, like, if you look at my hockey DB, you're going to think I stink.
What a great play by him.
I know. That's just getting ahead of the storyline. Like, oh, you think I stink? I'll tell you I stink. Go look at my hockey DB. I really stink, but I really don't stink if you watch me play night in and night out. But, Jens, you said you had a funny story from him?
Yeah, well, first off, I think he's a great D-man. One of those guys that, a 5'6" guy that's going to give you 16 to 18 minutes, break the puck out for you, just show up to the rink every day and play. But, yeah, funny story about him. He was Mackenzie Weegar had some concussion problems and some what do they call those? Not migraines. What's the
I don't know.
Whatever they're like. So he used to get the head issues and he'd like get the spins and stuff. So he was trying everything, and he tried that pink tinted visor that was supposed to help you with concussions. I don't know how, but he was trying it out one game, and we were playing. I can't remember what team DeHaan was on, maybe the Islanders, and face-offs in the D zone, and he's the lefties at the point, kind of right next to our bench, and Weeks is chirping him, yelling at him, telling him he stinks, and whatever the case is. But I think they're buddies, and he looks at the bench, he goes, "Shut up, Weeks. You look like Elton John out here." And our whole bench, the coaches, the trainers, and Weeks was standing up yelling at him. He turns around. Our whole bench has their faces in their jerseys, laughing at him. Just absolute classic line. So he's a good guy and a good locker room guy. So I think he's going to fit in New York well.
I need to see the sports science behind the pink tinted visor helping your concussion.
It's Pink Whitney.
The Pink Whitney visor, yeah. That's really what you need when you have a concussion, is just a Pink Whitney visor. I don't really get that, but funny line. I mean, the Rangers are now also holding out Riley Smith as kind of like roster management, so they're able to trade him. Seems like they're looking to sell some parts while also being right in the mix. And I guess that leads into the bet with Pasha. I mean, well, we can go into that later because I got another one with them that the Rangers are going to make the playoffs. I think they might sneak in. I really do.
Did you mention the tweet yet? I just went and took a piss. Did you mention the tweet that we sent to the group chat today?
No.
I believe that JT Miller in the 10 games that he's been with the New York Rangers has 12 points now, which is actually more points than Elias Pettersson has shots since the trade, which Elias Pettersson has 8 shots since JT Miller has been traded. No goals. I want to say 3 assists. So Pasha, who's been just getting absolutely torched lately.
Nobody's taken more L's in one season ever.
Ever. They should take his shoelaces away too. That is just like, that's tough sledding. Do you think that maybe they should just shut him down? My understanding is maybe he's battling a knee injury again, like this maybe the same one going back to last year's playoffs that he was bitching about. He's not skating well. He's not moving his feet much. He just doesn't look anything remotely like he looked the season where he had 100 points. Like, why wouldn't at this point you just shut him down?
I think Vancouver still thinks they could make the playoffs, but now Quinn Hughes didn't play the last 10 minutes the other night. It's like just a disaster season. Like, I never saw this season going this way for Vancouver. I mean, they were so good last year. They win that division. They end up just like everyone's coming back. It's like, holy shit, like they're going to be right in it again. And from the hop, it's been a disaster. And the Pettersson stuff, I would hope that he's injured. Like, if you're a fan of the Canucks, like that's kind of your own, like, all right, if he's injured, I kind of get it. If he's not injured, then you're like, holy shit. And I think, when does his no move clause kick in? Is it this summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, could he be dealt by Friday? I don't know who's trading for him at this point, but it is, I would hope he's injured based on the fact that he looks that bad and that lost. Just a kind of a brutal story. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see a guy that's just lost. It's like when you see PGA Tour golfers like lose their game. Like all of a sudden they're toiling away on in the mini tours after being on the PGA Tour for years. It's crazy. You don't see it in hockey like you do in golf, but it's wild. It's absolutely crazy to see what's happened to him. And JT Miller's been good, real good for New York. The fans love him, plays hard, brings that dog mentality to every game, every shift. So that's working out very well right now for the Rangers. The Wild went out and acquired Gustav Nyquist from the Predators for a 2026 second rounder. I guess Columbus was also kind of looking at him, and he had been there. But Minnesota goes. They're battling so many injuries. Eriksson X out. Kaprizov's out. They beat the Bruins 1-0 yesterday. I had that game on, Biz, that you were doing.
Brodin's out too. Unreal shutdown D-man. Who's the fourth guy they have out too? Who's between them and Boston in that game? They had a couple All-Stars, 5 guys who represented the teams in the 4 nations were out. So I mean, Marchand was out, Lindholm, McAvoy. Like that was like, I was fucking watching the Providence Bruins against the Iowa Wild, for Christ's sake. Who's the other guy that the Wild had out of the lineup? There was 4 guys missing. But hey, listen, right? Nyquist, unreal year last year with the Nashville Predators. No one's really having a great year there this year, but I think that's a great pickup. And once they get healthy, man, that could be a very sneaky team come playoff time.
Yeah.
Very, very, very sneaky. It will be much like every 2-3 matchup, though. It's going to be tough, man. If they get the 2nd or 3rd seed, they're playing Dallas because you know that Winnipeg's more than likely going to win that division. Yeah. So I said on the broadcast, fuck, if I'm Minnesota, I might even just like tank a little bit and I think I'd rather play the Winnipeg Jets first round than I would Dallas, and the travel's way less.
Dude, Dallas,
you mean the Harlem Globetrotters?
They are scaring the shit out of me. And we'll get into the Oilers in a little bit, but Dallas, 2 trips to the Western Conference Final. It's like, this could be the year, and you know that they're going to do something at the deadline. They look like, how about in the last 6 games? Wyatt Johnson has 6 goals, 2 assists. Rupe Hintz has 2 goals and 10 assists. So, like, something's clicking. Duchesne got his 25th goal of the year. They're getting guys healthy. Heiskanen, I don't know if he'll be back before the playoffs.
I think he's coming back towards the end of the regular season. There is rumblings that Seguin might be ready around that first to maybe second round. I mean, like I said, if you get Heiskanen, Seguin back, the way that Granlund has replaced Seguin on that second line, like seamlessly, he looked great last night in that game against who would they play against? Who they roasted? They beat him.
St. Louis.
St. Louis, yeah. Who I think they say I like St. Louis in the way that they're built. They got a good future, but we're getting off the rails here. If they get Seguin, Heiskanen, and make a deadline move along with Granlund, that's a dangerous team. I think they would smoke Minnesota in the first round, and then they would look to do damage moving forward. So interested to see what they also do. I think that Dallas, Alexiak, they need a defenseman. Alexiak, Ristolainen, who are some other D-men who they could pick up to bolster that back end to combat basically what Florida did? Who are some other guys?
Risto would be a really good one.
Well, if you're talking a big guy, like you're bringing up Alexiak, what about Luke Schenn? Right?
Yeah, I think that Luke Schenn on a Stanley Cup team is an awesome number 6. I think that you need
third pair.
You need a 4 to 5 guy, in my opinion.
Really?
Even with Harley and Heiskanen, you still need. I think Ristolainen would, because you can put him with either one of those guys, and he can be in your top 4.
That's okay. Well, there you go. That's what I'm trying to say. You need a 4 to 5. I think Schenn is, if you can't get anyone else, sure. He's a big body. He'll fight if he has to, but he seems like on a Stanley Cup team, a guy who's like in and out of the lineup as a 6-7. So I think you need to do something that moves the needle just a little bit more. My understanding was they were kicking tires on Seth Jones.
Okay.
But there has to be a guy out there that they can go grab that can fill in and play more of a role.
Yeah.
And G just said in the chat, Connor Murphy, but I mean, I think Chicago's got to keep some veterans around, right? He's been there a while.
So.
He's been there a while. He's an assistant. I know.
You need one NHL defenseman. I think of Vlasic. He's nice, but I don't know if you can move on from Connor Murphy, dude. That's like...
No, I know.
And I do think that Lindell and Heiskanen back healthy and Harley, like those guys can play a ton, dude. They can play a ton. You got Ottinger. I know what you're saying, Biz, but it kind of leads us back into the main discussion coming in is Rantanen. And we're coming down to the wire here. I mentioned on Coast to Coast the night we were at Amazon, he had a goal and an assist. He looked great. Now, they played Buffalo, so that doesn't really count.
And they were wearing the Whalers jerseys. Fuck, everybody had 1 and 1.
True. Yeah. Little Caesars.
Boys, what do you do? I mean, I think I agree with a lot of people saying they're in win now mode. The criticism.
They ain't winning shit, dude.
The criticism for the last 3-4 years, they don't have that superstar who could push them over the edge. But like, so you kind of disagreed with me. I think if they keep him past the deadline, his leverage with them goes up so much more. He could ask them for another $1 million per, and they'd have to give it to him.
I know, and I don't think at that point it matters.
Yeah.
I don't think. Okay. So Biz, so say they keep him, and yes, then it's like, hey, I'm gonna tell you what to give me. You can't lose Gensel and then lose me. All right, so we'll give you $15 million, and you can get $14 million from 6 other teams. Like at that point, what's the extra $8 million?
Well, I mean, this was all about money to begin with, wasn't it?
In Colorado?
Yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, why did he get traded then? My understanding right now is, I think Elliot Friedman reported it, is they've offered him what McKinnon is making. 12.6 was the offer. And he's like, I want to test it out longer. Like, I mean, I get it. I get that he wants to test drive it before he makes an 8-year commitment, but holy shit, man. You can't tell me that Carolina fans and management aren't fucking nervous about this situation. Like 100%. This has to be if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan, you have to say that this is a catastrophic situation, that if you end up getting bounced in the 2nd or 3rd round, you have no Natchez, no Gensel, no Rantanen, and you gave away everything else you did with picks or whatever in the meantime. Like Drury also, right? Drury was the one guy. I think Drury's got more goals than Rantanen since they've been traded. So catastrophic deadline moves if they don't end up re-signing Rantanen. And is it a win if you end up giving Rantanen $14 million? Is that a win? Are Carolina Hurricanes fans prepared to sign over a check for $14 million a year for Rantanen? Are you?
Well, I think with the cap going up, it kind of hurts a little less. But yeah, that's a big number to pay a winger.
Big fucking tag, boys.
From what you've seen so far, like, no.
Right. Yeah.
I think he's a great player, and I think that he's been snake bitten a little bit, and his numbers are not a reflection on how he's played. But I mean, this is Army's argument. He's like, fuck the $14 million deals. They got to start bumping up the league minimum for some of these third, fourth liners, and I agree with him. As a fellow fourth liner, fuck these big deals. Snap the wealth around a little bit more.
What does he want? $1 million? $1 million league minimum?
I agree with him completely. The league minimum should be at least $1 million.
What is it?
I think it's probably $750, $800 at this point.
Yeah.
You would think that could move up.
It better.
You would hope.
It fucking
Although
better.
if it's that or our insurance, we'll take the insurance.
We'll take the insurance.
True.
For Merles. But
we
it's
deserve
$775. Right now, the league minimum is $775.
That's not bad.
Guys, I got some serious worries and doubts right now about the Edmonton Oilers. I don't really know what's gone on like this year, and they had this incredible run where they were the best team in the league for a decent stretch, but I go back to the Four Nations ending, and McDavid played an afternoon game like 20 minutes later against Philly. Like basically Knobloch said, like, you can't get him off the ice.
He didn't take his gear off.
Even today, they did it. They gave the option to Arvidsson, who played Four Nations, Ekholm, who played Four Nations, and McDavid, and he still skated. And it's like, I get wanting to win that division. They're 4 points behind Vegas right now. I wish they could rest him. I really do. And like Leon is on this path this year. Like he's just feeling it, and you don't need to rest him right now. But I just wish they'd rest him. And I don't know if he is banged up. He came out and said after that, what loss did they have when we were watching?
Philly?
I don't remember.
They got smoked by Philly.
They got smoked by Washington. No, it was more
Florida.
recent.
4-3 to Florida.
It was Florida.
Yeah.
And he said, he said, like, I'd be lying if I said I felt great right now. And it's like, oh my God, and then the Kane situation. So the Evander Kane situation is apparently, according to all the insiders, they are like talking to teams because he has, he's given his list of teams that he can go to or he'd be willing to go to. Now, a lot of Oilers are fans like, put him on LTIR. You could still trade for someone and then you get him back. But it's not really how it works if you play by the rules. Like, if he's cleared and healthy, he has to start playing. He wants to play. He wants to show that he's still got a lot left to give. So you can't just say, like, hey, dude, you're waiting. You have to wait till the playoffs and then we'll get you going. That's not how it works. And I don't really, like, who would trade for him right now? Like, and if you just try to get rid of him for almost nothing, just so you could make a deal, I'd rather kind of see what he has because he could be such an impact player. And you've seen it in the playoff runs he's had that, and mind you, last year in the Cup final, I don't think he played the last 5 games. Like, that was a big loss. He's physical, great on the forecheck. Now, I don't know what his health's like. He's had different surgeries. He's got all these different injuries, so you don't know what you're getting. But you can't just stick him on LTIR and then go get someone Golden Knights style. Unfortunately, you can't do that. I wish you could. But now I just look at Edmonton's season and it's something's missing. And Stan Bowman has made it clear he's not in the market for a goalie. Biz, you mentioned Mrazek. Gibson's made it clear that he'd go to Anaheim.
You're saying that Gibson would leave Anaheim? I just think I think that the ship has sailed on the Gibson stuff. This has been rumor mill longer than Scott Lawton. Like, this has been 3-4 years that people have been talking about Gibson. And like, is he even their starter now? Like, I feel like that younger kid took over. So like, I think that Mrazek is one of your only answers. And I don't know. If I'm them, like, by the way, I think they completely fumbled this whole situation with not bringing back the guys who got offer sheeted from St. Louis. I think it's ridiculous. I still think it's one of the worst moves I've seen in the last fucking 10 years, not bringing those two guys back, especially with the success they both had in St. Louis. I think you keep Evander Kane, and because I believe he's up for contract, right? This is the last year of that contract.
Yes, I think so.
He's playing for a contract. Do you not want a hungry Evander Kane?
Yeah.
When was the last time he was hungry? Was it the year that he had 14 goals in playoffs?
Probably, yeah.
I thought he might
get a
have
hungry
another
Evander
year.
Kane. Hungry, healthy Evander Kane. I think that's your only solution to combating the negligence of not offering those matching those offer sheets.
He's got 1 year after this.
Yeah, he's got another year. Now, Biz, here's what's crazy.
At what, $4 million? Still a bargain for
5.25.
5.2. All right.
But yeah, it goes back to like this summer seems like it was a big mistake. And the Broberg one was one thing. Like they had Nurse on a huge deal. They had Kulak as a left shot defenseman, and they have Ekholm. All of a sudden, Broberg's getting offered 4.6. They have to sign Bouchard. Like I kind of get that one right now. Obviously, I wish they'd matched it. The Holloway one, the Dylan Holloway one's nuts. He just scored his 20th goal the other day. It was $2 million. $2 million. And that one is like, holy shit, you got this young forward who could skate that was great in the playoffs. And instead, and also don't forget about Warren Fogle, who's been great with the Kings. He was there. But now you bring in Arvidsson, that hasn't worked out. You bring in Skinner, that hasn't worked out. And then what do we come to find out? They have no move clauses. They both have no move clauses. So it's like, holy shit. And it's like, I don't really trust Stan. Stan Bowman was brought in to be the guy to get him over the hump. I mean, he won the Cups in Chicago.
Bring Holland back.
Dale Talon built the team, the first one. And
Does Bowman have a no move?
It just seems like this year, and I'm obviously not giving up, although last year I did, and then they went to Game 7 of the Cup final. Right now, the vibes around Edmonton, now it can turn quick. They had a big win against Carolina in a game that they still, dude, with a 1-goal lead in the final minute, got a power play and gave up a breakaway. Like, what are we doing here? Huge shave. Picard started that game. So it's just kind of crazy to see. They don't really have any room to do anything. That's probably why they're calling these teams about Evander Kane, but it's a weird time in Edmonton. McDavid's looked off.
All the respect in the world to McDavid, though, trying to work through this.
I know.
Not taking the easy road. We forget that these guys are humans, man. These guys have been just on an insane run.
What did you say to the group chat about McDavid? Just about how like relentless he is, and it's like at some point it's mentally exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into what do you say that? To put that into
layman's terms?
Perspective, as far as how much he struggled, I want to say since February 5th till now, he's got the worst plus minus in the league. Like that is gnarly. Like the fact of how much he's on for goals for, and like he's always ahead in that category. So it's just been a tough stretch. He doesn't really have an answer for it. I don't think that he looked like himself even in that final game of the Four Nations. Obviously, the big goal kind of erases that. But, hey, man, kind of like Matthews, some of these big dogs are a little bit fatigued right now, and they'll just continue working through it, and he'll probably look like himself in a few weeks once he gets out of this little rut. But or at least you hope.
I remember Barkov when Yogs was here. He was on the Yogs program, going to the rink late at night, whatever, skating all the time, and his back started hurting him a little bit. And the GM was like, dude, this is done. You got to stop doing this. Like you're overworking yourself. Like those guys, those elite guys just have something different in their DNA where they just want to get better and better. And they need someone to just be like, dude, pump the brakes a little bit. Like you just need a little bit time off. Let your body catch up to whatever. Because have you ever, like the last game in the Four Nations, obviously, like you said, he scored, but I've never seen McDavid fumble a puck. Like he was skating stick handling, like losing the puck. I'm like, must be something wrong with the ice there. And then when he comes back out there, still the same thing. So he's definitely, whether it's fatigue or he's dealing with something, he's going through something right now. But obviously, because of who he is, he's going to snap out of it at some point and go on an insane tear like he usually does.
He needs Michael's magic stuff.
What's that?
Oh, yeah.
From Space Jam.
Oh,
the body armor.
Flash IV body armor. Check it out. So guys, this kind of leads us into the and there are obviously other topics for the trade deadline. Game notes, guys, we'll have that covered 1 to 3. I'm going to try to hop on Friday.
Where can you watch that, Whit?
That's on our YouTube channel, Biz,
Oh,
how many
nice.
subscribers do we have now?
I want to say we just hit 388,000 subscribers on our Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel. You can check out game notes. You can check out our podcast. You can watch the whole thing. Sandbagger Scrambles. You got the
college
Chiclets U.
stuff.
The
Yep.
Chiclets U with Fish and G. So we just got tons of stuff you can watch and enjoy on our Spittin Chiclets YouTube channel.
And this week, we will have our Four Nations Chiclets TV coming out Thursday at noon. Check that out on our YouTube channel. That's a great time. We were up there having a blast in Montreal. So, guys, I want to go next to an apology I have to make, and that is to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And the apology stems back to last week when I was discussing the teams in the race for the final 2 wildcard spots in the East. I didn't say them. I said the Rangers, I said the Senators, I said the Bruins, I said the Red Wings, and I didn't say Columbus. But you Columbus fans, I hope you didn't take it too personal. It was just, I forgot. I was trying to list off teams, but you were in my head. I didn't say you guys. I've been mentioning even last year how great this fan base is, how awesome it would be to see you guys get in the playoffs. The passion that we saw when you did get in and pulled that amazing upset against Tampa Bay, and then what they've dealt with and what happened before the year with Johnny Gaudreau's passing and what this team's done. It would be one of the stories. I am rooting for you guys. I apologize for not mentioning your team. And holy shit, did Columbus show up for that game this weekend. Unreal 2 games for Columbus. They beat Detroit in Detroit. Awesome win. Then they go to the Horseshoe at Ohio State. Awesome game. I caught the third period. And I was just like, holy shit, it looked great. It was awesome. Now, Biz, I don't really get I understand Detroit fans whining. Like, that is a penalty to me. That is a penalty.
But that's not what I'm talking about. I was congratulating Columbus on a big win, on a big back-to-back wins, and they're flooding my mentions. It has nothing to do with them. The refs gave them the game, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, get the fuck out of my inbox here. I don't give a flying fuck that the ref missed that call. I don't care. I don't owe nothing to Motown. I'm congratulating a team that deserves it, that's had a loyal fan base, that has dealt with more adversity than any team in the league, not only to start the year, but losing Boone Jenner. They lost Werenski for a little bit. I believe Kent Johnson was injured. They've had injury after injury after injury. They had no expectations to make playoffs this year. And look where they are in that top wild card position, fighting with the other team in the wild card position, having to win their games, and they win back-to-back, and I congratulate them. Detroit played a hell of a game. They dominated that game in the first half. They peppered them with shots. Their goalie stood on their head, and they pull off the victory. And listen, was it a bit of a missed call? Sure. I thought that it was a puck battle, and he went to lift the stick, and yeah, he nicked him in the visor. Do I also think there was a little bit of a sell job? Yes, I do. I do think there was a little bit of a sell job. So the fact that it wasn't called, I have no problem with. They go off, they score that goal. Hey, you can go bitch online, but don't flood my inbox when I'm congratulating the Columbus Blue Jackets. You direct all your hate towards the NHL Twitter account or the player safety or whatever you got to do. I don't want to hear about it, Red Wings fans. They're insulting me about my points per game and this, basically stealing everything that Chicago Blackhawks were throwing at me a few weeks ago when I was trying to help their team out. Their rival. So you guys could buddy up with your rival and come flood my inbox all you want, but it ain't going to change the fact that you drop back-to-back games, and that if you ain't nice to me, I'm going to throw the hex on you, and you won't even get inside that wild card spot. And Toronto's going to be the only original 6 team making playoffs this year. You better watch your mouth, Motown.
You think?
You better watch your mouth, Motown.
I just think it's a penalty. It's like the guy, he's going to lift up his stick. He catches him up in the face. Buddy, that's called.
It's called 99% of the time, yeah.
Every time,
hey, go gargle the Yzerplan's nuts. I don't give a flying fuck.
I know, but I want to hear how you think that's not a penalty. Even if it was a sell job, take them both and get the whistle.
I think if you slow it down, it started out as a puck battle. And then, is it, how do you say his last, is it Soderblom? What's the last name? Soderblom?
That was Edvinsson. That was Edvinsson.
Was Edvinsson. My apologies. Edvinsson. I don't know. I grabbed the screenshot. It seemed like a bit of a sell job. No disrespect to him at all. He's trying to get the call. What do you think, Jans?
Well, first, I've known Ryan Whitney for 30 years, and this might be the first time I've ever heard him apologize. So, Columbus Blue Jacket fans, he means this.
Yes.
I
he
love
is
the
sorry.
Blue Jackets. I love
You
them.
better.
I know.
You
Yeah,
fucking
I know.
better.
So, take that. He really meant that, Blue Jackets fans.
There's
and,
nothing I want more. I would say I would put it as a tie for Columbus to make playoffs and for Toronto to make it past the first round. I'd put that at a tie right now as far as where my feelings are at.
Yeah.
And that's maybe why I got a little sensitive with Detroit fans coming at me, because I'm a ride or die for Columbus right now. But if I get we're talking about apologies. If I get an apology from Detroit Twitter, maybe I'll lay off you guys and not put the hex on you.
If Toronto plays Columbus in the first round and Columbus beats them, I need. Oh
Biz.
my God!
Biz.
Oh my God!
That's where the story has to end.
I would pick Columbus making the playoffs and playing the Maple Leafs and beating them over getting the chance to play Augusta. No joke. If you offered me a 1 round at Augusta or Columbus gets in, plays the Leafs and beats them, I would choose that. And I promise you that, Columbus fans. That's how much I love you guys. That's how much I love your passion. That's how much I love that fucking giant cannon you have that used to scare the shit out of me. And I'll tell you right now, if they beat the Leafs, and just seeing this idiot's face that you're looking at right now, Paul Bissonnette, and is crying and is whining, and Marner getting 16 points and then signing for $16 million a year. Oh my God.
If that
Columbus.
happens, you could load that cannon up and shoot me right in the arsehole. You could shoot me right in the hoop with that fucking cannon if that happens.
Oh, guys, Ovi scored again.
Oh my God.
Ovi got another one.
Just
10
now?
away from tie. No. He just got it in a loss. Who did they lose to? Tampa?
Just now, it's
I'm
just
like-
now. 6 o'clock.
It's 6:10, yeah.
6 Eastern.
They had one of those Monday 6 o'clock puck drops. He scored first shift. It was
Yeah.
sick. He went end to end.
Noon game. All the kids, the school kids are there.
Monday.
He's 10 away from tying Gretzky. He's 11 away from breaking him. And Capitals fans they're making a big stink out of the possibility of their 2 announcers not calling the record-breaking goal. Now, that would be Joe Beninati and Craig Laughlin, who do the Capitals broadcast. I guess there's been a lot of flexing of the schedule to give ESPN more Capitals games, and ESPN could end up taking the game that Ovi breaks the record. It's like, Caps fans, I get it. I mean, what do you think? This is not going to be like nationally televised? Like their complaints on this one's crazy to me. Like, sorry, it stinks, but those are your guys, and this is an all-time record, a record that would never be broken. Everyone said this record won't even be touched, and you guys are upset your announcers aren't going to call it. Like, it's not the end of the world, and I get ESPN or whoever figuring out a way to get whatever game he does it on a national broadcast.
Yeah, I also think that they're still going to have the local broadcast doing the game where you can watch it locally, so you'd be able to get the call.
Sometimes it's blacked out and sometimes it's not. It's
Yeah,
weird.
it would be blacked out, but you'd still eventually see the call by them because they're still going to be doing the actual game locally. It just so happens that they're flexing the games, and it would be getting televised nationally. So majority of people would just see it being called by ESPN and or I guess TNT. We got them. I think we got them Wednesday against.
Well, for example, Biz, though, I don't think that's true though. Like yesterday, the Bruins game was not done by their announcers.
I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty sure they could. I'm pretty sure that their local announcers could still call the game for their local broadcast as it closes up. That's, I guess, where you're saying that that's not going to happen. They're not going to work that game. It's just going to be the ESPN crew or the TNT crew.
I think that's the issue, Biz, is they're saying that they would flex that game from national and pull it off of the local broadcast. So, like, no, regardless, you can't listen to their broadcasters.
Oh, well, I guess I kind of disagree where they should probably be doing both. Like, at least have them, even if it's just an in-house feed, like have them do it so their fans can kind of like, I don't know, watch it online. Or so I mean, maybe not something like as a casual fan I would be upset about, but if I'm a hardcore Capitals fan who's been following Ovi's career from the beginning, I guess maybe that's why you'd get a little bit poopy pants.
That guy's announced every single one of his goals and doesn't get to do the record break one. I agree with you that it needs to be obviously on national broadcast, but yeah, I agree also with those guys deserve a chance to call it as well.
And we've been told, Biz, correct me if I'm wrong, Gretzky, once Ovi's 5 away from breaking, he will be following him around.
Yeah, him and Gary are doubling up. They're going to be rooming together on the road. No, they get the bunk beds and everything. It's going to be awesome.
Who's
they're
on the
filming
top?
the whole experience.
Wayne gets a cot.
Yeah. Could you imagine just them sitting next to each other at a king size? Kind of like me and Jans used to do.
You asleep yet?
Yeah.
No. What do you want to talk about? Biz, Wayno, as a Canadian, the only Canadian on this show, he's taken a lot of heat.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if you wanted to mention something.
I wanted to talk about it just because it's been going on for like a little over a week now where it's been pretty aggressive online. And guys, are obviously there's been a lot going on lately in the politics world. We don't talk about politics on the show. We I know we referenced it with the Four Nations because we couldn't really avoid it with the booing of the anthems. I'm not going to get into the weeds on politics. Obviously, as a Canadian, I'm not happy about the tariffs or the 51st state comments because I just feel like we've, as Canadian and Americans, been friends for so long and we've worked together in order to be successful and as like citizens and for humanity. And you know, I just think it's ridiculous that people online are questioning Wayne's loyalty to Canada and how much he loves his country. I think it's ridiculous. I know a lot of you are not happy about the fact that he's friends with Donald Trump. I just simply don't care. I'm here to defend my friend and say that he loves Canada more than anything. Anytime I mention that I'm going to Edmonton or I'm doing an interview for this, he just reminds me, tell people I love the people of Edmonton. He loves Canada. This is the guy at the 2010 Olympics who lit the torch and lit, it's just ridiculous to me. I don't want to be long-winded about it because I know that people are going to try to use everything I say politically against me and come at me online too. I just think it's ridiculous. Jans, you know him. I see you wearing the 99 hat. His family loves Canada. Like when you think of Canada and you think of the people that represent it and the most famous Canadians, Wayne Gretzky is one of the first names that come to mind. And every second that I've spent with him, all I've seen him is pour out so much love and support for his country. He loves going back there. And I think it's ridiculous. And sometimes I'm not the best talking about these types of situations. But I just want to show, love and support for my friend right now. And, I think that, Subaru Twitter's just been going fucking nuts on him. And I think it's ridiculous. And people, he came out through the, USA bench at the Four Nations and, he wasn't wearing his pin when he was sworn into Canada. It's just it's ridiculous the shit that's being said online. And Jans, I don't know if you want to say anything or you did, Whit, but it's just it's crazy, man. It's fucking crazy.
I will say quickly, Jans, if you told me years ago that there'd be Canadians out there that hate Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr, I told you you're the craziest motherfucker I've ever heard. Bobby Orr and Wayne Gretzky, two legendary Canadian people, and you hate them because they're friends with the president of another country? Now, I understand there's been so much that's gone into it and the comments and what you said, Biz, and the tariffs. It's Wayne Gretzky and Bobby Orr. These guys would do anything for their country. They love their country. And just what it's turned into for both of these legendary players and people, it's crazy to me. It's just wild to me. And I really hope it's the silent majority and that if you talk to most Canadians, they wouldn't agree with all the shit I'm seeing and reading. But it is wild to see. Wild.
There's two things I know nothing about politics and I know nothing about Twitter. So I've kind of been, not seeing as much as maybe people on Twitter, but Wayne Gretzky is an all-time human being. It's Wayne Gretzky. He cares about his country. He cares about his friends. He cares about the game of hockey. It honestly, the fact that that stuff like this is happening to him, it makes me sad that there's people in the world that think that, because he has done absolutely nothing wrong. It's unfair to him for what he's done for your country, whether it's hockey or giving back. Like, his house growing up is a museum. He has companies up there. It's sad to me to think that there's people out there that would try to hurt somebody that, hasn't done anything wrong, and that, in his whole life, he has done nothing but be proud to be a Canadian and been a good friend. And I had him as a coach, and I've got to know him as a friend, and there's not a guy in the world that just would do of his stature, who he is. He cares about the lesser. He cares about us. He cares about, the people working at the rink, the people working at the golf course. And it's really it's sad to me to think that there's people out there that want to like see him hurting, because at the end of the day, like he's hurting from this. I would imagine there's no one that wants to hear that their country's turning on him, even if it's a tiny majority of people. Like, the fact that there's anyone out there that doesn't, think that his alliances with Canada and his country, and it truly, it's sad and it's heartbreaking to me. And I hope this all kind of blows over, because how good of a guy Wayne is, and what he's given to the sport, and the country, in both countries, with the hockey the enjoyment that he's brought to both countries and growing the game. It's it's just sad to think.
And nobody's saying, like, anybody listening, that nobody's saying that you don't have a right to be frustrated or disgusted with a decision that Donald Trump has made. You're just directing it at the wrong person right now. And that's what we're saying. This man loves his country. It's all he cares about are people and his country. And I just wanted to speak up for a friend. So I don't think we need to be any more long-winded about this. I'm sure we're going to get tons of messages, but to all of our Canadian supporters, and if you're being affected by these tariffs and you are really sensitive to the 51st state comments, I agree with you. I don't like them either, and I'm really sorry for what you are personally going through or how you feel about it. That doesn't need to change, and we're okay with you being frustrated with that. It's just the directed hate towards one of the greatest Canadians to ever exist is just being completely misplaced. So thank you guys for letting us talk on this. And if we've frustrated some of you and some of you don't want to listen to our podcast anymore, that's fine. That's your right. But our right is to defend our friend and let you know how we feel about the situation too.
And speaking of Canada, when we were up there a couple weeks ago, we sat down with Max Talbot, former teammate of myself and Biz. Great guy. I didn't realize we hadn't talked to him in like 5-6 years almost. And this guy is full of energy, he's full of passion for life. We had a great sit down. I hope everyone enjoys this. So without further ado, Maxime Talbot. Guys, it's Whit here. And before we go any further, I need to talk to you about Row. Let's talk about Row Sparks, a 2-in-1 prescription treatment for stronger, harder erections. That's right. I think Biz should be doing this read, but Row Sparks dissolve under your tongue, meaning they hit your bloodstream faster than pills, so you can get ready for action quicker. Once the medication dissolves, they work in about 15 minutes on average, giving you the boost you need for thicker, longer erections. That's right. Thicker, longer erections. My wife will be loving it and helping you last longer for more fun for both you and your lover. Plus, Row Sparks stay active in your system for up to 36 hours. That means you can be ready to go round after round or even the morning after. And no need for awkward in-person doctor visits. Row connects you with a medical provider 100% online. And if prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. I never thought I'd be saying it, but longer, thicker, harder erections. Row Sparks, baby. If prescribed, new sexual health patients get $15 off Sparks on a recurring plan. Connect with a provider at row.co/chiclets to find out if prescription Row Sparks are right for you. That's ro.co/chiclets. ro.co/chiclets for $15 off your first order and longer, thicker, harder erections. Who doesn't like that? I'm here now to talk to you about Orgain. Being healthy is a big part of my life, but I'm not hardcore about it. You could tell if you've seen my body. But I want to incorporate better habits into my life, like getting more protein in my diet. And our next sponsor makes it so easy to do just that. This podcast is sponsored by Orgain. Orgain believes real nutrition has the power to make a real difference in people's lives. Orgain's new 30-gram complete protein shakes offer protein-packed real nutrition designed to satisfy your cravings without any added sugar. Plus, they are an excellent source of premium, ultra-filtered protein with all 9 essential amino acids. Are you looking to fuel your personal best? Do you need muscle support and recovery? Or are you just looking to maintain a healthy lifestyle? Orgain's 30-gram protein shakes check all of the boxes. Are you busy? Me too. That's why Orgain is simple. You literally just grab one of Orgain's protein shakes and go. Bring it to a workout, bring it in the car, wherever you need it. No more time-consuming prep to get the protein you need. No more getting the blender out and having to clean it after. Nope, you just grab an Orgain for the ride, and boom, you're gone. I love Orgain because it tastes phenomenal. You would think with the 9 amino acids that you need in this ultra-filtered protein that it may not taste good. It tastes phenomenal. I love chocolate. I love vanilla. I could even mix them up. I might do that. Maybe a chocolate vanilla Orgain. That would be homemade, of course, but it tastes phenomenal. It's amazing for you, and it's so easy to grab and drink on the road. Remember, there are no quick fixes when it comes to your health. If you want more protein, give Orgain 30-gram protein shakes a try. Head over to Orgain.com/Chiclets and use code Chiclets for 30% off your order. That's Orgain.com/Chiclets with the code Chiclets for 30% off. That's the best offer you'll find, but you'll have to use code Chiclets. One last time, 30% off. Head over to Orgain.com/Chiclets and use code Chiclets. What an absolute pleasure this is. We're in Montreal, the home of our guest, our friend, Stanley Cup champion, Game 7 hero, Maxime Talbot. What's going on, buddy?
What's up? I love the French accent. Maxime Talbot.
Well, Biz had a little friend last night. Raphael. That's what she said.
Here we go. Okay.
Some girl, Raphael. I said, oh, that's
Raphael?
French. I see. But what a pleasure
Tell me more
it is.
about it, Biz.
No, we're gonna move over to you, the professional chauffeur.
He's
Nowadays.
like, well, but buddy, what's going on? You're living here. We were just talking about all your kids, how busy you've been, but you're covering hockey here. You're covering hockey for the Penguins. How's everything going?
Busy. It's
Yeah.
good. It's good. You want to be busy. You know, I've been done for 5 years, and you want to get into stuff that you love that's gonna wake you up in the morning and start Two Drinks Company. I'm coaching my 2 oldest kids in hockey. Do media here in Montreal. Cover the Habs. Do some Habs game. Do some TV for the Pens this year too. So it's daddy duty plus the job. So it's busy.
When your kids were a little bit younger, that's when you were doing a little bit of coaching as an assistant in San Diego, right? So you kind of been doing a little bit of everything since you retired and just trying to find out what makes you happiest.
Yeah, that was my goal. Basically, I always tell my wife, like, I have a tool belt, like, around, and you want to put a couple tools around there to be able to do some other stuff, right? So I tried coaching, and I knew that was going to come eventually in my life, that I was going to be interested in coaching. And it was early enough that the kids were young enough to travel to San Diego and change school and everything. But I wanted to try it. And I tried in a perfect situation with Joel Bouchard, a buddy of mine. He called me up, and you go to a nice city too. Like, I'm not sure I would have went to, like, different places and
Bingo.
yeah, to start, because it was a tryout. I wanted to, but then I realized quickly that, I'm a family man, like it's
hard.
demanding. It's hard. It's, and even I was trying to envision for myself as an ex-player, you have to be very, very, very passionate about hockey to coach. I am, but like, I loved going to the rink, but I felt like I missed so many good moments with the kids.
Yeah.
It was busy, and sometimes I was in the coaching office. I was loving my job, but I was like, my wife would send me pictures of, like, my son throwing the football to himself, basically, and going to catch. I'm like, I should be there, right? So that was the hard thing of it, about it. But I loved coaching. But maybe when the kids will.
And the video tough, the video stuff for me, I'm like, oh, those guys are grinding watching video.
Yeah, it's a lot of job, but I feel like even as the first year I went there, I was like, my ears open, my eyes open, trying to learn from Joel and Daniel Jacob, which is the assistant coach of the Rockets this year. Amazing coach. I was trying to learn, but at the same time, I feel like if I would go again, I would do it differently, like being closer to the players and bring my person into it. The first year was like, there's a lot of stuff to learn, like just working and doing PowerPoints. Like I never done that. You know,
Even like the computer stuff.
Presentations, how to present.
Would you get nervous talking in front of the players a little bit?
Not so much. It was more all the technicalities behind it that my message was going through to start. You know, it's something new. Like we all talk hockey all our career playing hockey, but once you have to explain it to somebody else with a video and like your own PowerPoint. So I was on my computer a lot, and at one point it got like, hey, my kids need me, and so it's on pause for now.
Yeah, my thing with coaching is you don't realize how much travel. You're a player again.
Yeah.
One, traveling during the season, but your job only going to last 2 or 3 years, and then you're going to have to move the family again when you get fired, or when you start in the minors, you're trying to move up, so you're going to get moved up again.
Yeah.
So it is tough when you have kids.
Was that part of your goal? Sorry to interrupt you, but was it part of your goal to try to move up to the NHL as a coach?
That's almost why after 1 year I kind of resigned. It was like, I was trying to envision myself, what's the end goal with this? Okay, coach in the NHL, to start obviously assistant coach. And I would see myself lifting the cup as an assistant coach. And I was like, I wanted as a player, and I drew blood, and it was my cup. And I remember like Yosi and all the other assistant coach, I was very proud for them and happy for them, right? But once you win as a player, I was like, okay, I lived the cup, middle of the ice. I did the power play, whatever, but it's not my cup in some way, in some sense. So it was not, to me, the end goal was not like, I'm going to do all those sacrifices and the supreme extreme goal is to lift the cup. I've won it as a player. And to me, there's...
Yeah, you did.
Another little flex here from the guys.
No, you understand?
You literally won the cup.
Whereas, I know, no shit. Literally, 2-1 game, I had both goals. But whereas you're saying like, I could see players that maybe never got it. All right, I'm going to get it as a coach. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
But when you're like, you see the end goal and it's like, it doesn't bring that butterflies in you. But I loved all about development and talking to guys and getting them better. That's what I live for, basically having relationships. So it was very good. And hats off to all the coaches out there, man. You realize how much job it is, how much passionate you need to be. And so, I mean, I have so much more respect for the coach now that I've touched it.
Yeah, and the job security thing. God, it's just so stressful.
Yeah.
This
so
isn't an insult, but man, does he ever seem so much more mature than when we all played together.
Hey, you guys too.
I was going to say,
haven't grown up.
We all better seem a little bit more mature. We were out of our minds for a while. Man.
This guy, I was roommates with this guy, and then we both made the team in Pittsburgh together. We're living at that Marriott hotel. Nobody else around, just us two clowns going out all the time. This guy would fall asleep in the elevator, and I would have to take him. Like, he owes me his whole. He should give me one of his rings. I drag him by the foot down the hallway, open his door for him, put him in bed, tuck him in.
Old school NHL, man. Doesn't happen now.
I used to do business laundry when he was getting called up in Pittsburgh sometimes. Like, hey, sleep on my couch in Pitt and everything.
Oh, no, I'd be sleeping in your hot tub on your roof. What was this?
Oh, that house was unbelievable. On Carson Street.
I hate to call it a pussy palace, but at the time I think you were single, and it was the ultimate pussy palace.
It was the most beautiful house in an area where there really weren't beautiful houses.
It was risky.
I
remember my agent saying, like, Max, this is like a nice house in like a very average neighborhood. How are you gonna keep the value? I was like, I don't know, but I'll have fun in it. It's gonna be worth it.
You built that
No,
place,
it was
right?
there.
Oh, it was there? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It was right
You definitely added the hot tub, though.
It was right beyond Mario. I built the hot tub. I got put a crane there, and
right across from Diesel next to Mario's. What fun days. We were just chatting before you came in too. Like, you've been so close with Sid. Pat Brisson, his agent, was your agent. So you just mentioned you had lunch. Like, how about the fact he's still doing it? I made a video the other night saying, like, if there's still one game you need to win, it's still him you're taking.
Yeah.
And
I would
crazy.
take him before McDavid and McKinnon, how fast and good they are, but he's the guy. I was worried. I was doing the game in Pittsburgh last week when he got hurt.
Oh.
I was like thinking about that, and for me, the commitment that he has, that he wanted to be here and everything, it's inspirational. You see Mario with him at the start of the game, at the end of the game, like it was such a
chanting
special
his name.
Yeah. And that was like, that why I was so excited to this tournament, because the stories are amazing. We're 2 games in and the stories are already like, it's exciting for hockey, and Sid is still in the middle of it. And it's
crazy.
It's great. Sometimes I'm in Pittsburgh and I see fans, and sometimes the upper bowl is not full anymore or stuff like that. They're losing more. But I'm like, the first thing that comes to my mind is don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. And he's still there. and Malkin's still there and Letang, and it's such a good story. Just appreciate every time he's going to touch the ice until he's done.
Yeah, because it's going to end. Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to look at it.
And I know he's from Halifax, and but I felt because he played in the Q, he gravitated more towards the Quebec League guys.
Yeah.
Like you and Flower. So you really bonded with him from an early start in Pittsburgh.
Well, I met him. He was 13. I was at my agent was Pat Brisson, and Pat always brings all these prospects to LA for a camp in July. And that's like a big before your draft and everything. But Sid was 13. And so he got invited. He was already signed by Pat. So I remember Sid at 13 going like, he was going around Chilios and stuff like that. Chilios was slashing him because he was pissed. He was at the top of his game. This 13 years old come in and he's going around, Chelly, and he's like, Chelly slashing him. So you could already tell and see. And, after that, played World Juniors with him and competed against him for 2 years in the Q. And when he obviously won the lottery in Pittsburgh, I was like, this is it's a spot less for me.
I remember
That's
Merle
what I
said
always-
that.
I was so pissed when they won the lottery. I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah, one last spot. Yeah.
And then they're going to bring in everyone too.
I want to go back to that too. Like Crosby, you were a big leader too. You won the Memorial Cups. But my thing I always talk about, I met Sid the first time. He's 18 years old. I'm 25, 26. His leadership was right away. It was something I'd never been around. Did you feel the same way?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you look at his season at 18 years old, right? You got 100-something points. 102 points. And we were it was not the start of rebuild, but we had a very old team, right? We had like Lionel Deline, Recchi, Leclerc. They were all there. And Mario and Edzo was the coach, and it was kind of like it was old time hockey, right? We would have a lot of drinks, and after practice,
Oh my God,
Lunches turned into dinner.
Yes.
mandatory drinks after every practice. But Odie playing like that golf,
Golden tea.
golden tea, right? I've done
But he had the missing finger.
Yeah, he'd go like this.
And he was shoot 26 under too. He probably took 10 grand from me playing that game.
Yeah. So, but Sid already have like memories of Sid kind of arguing, going at it with Rex on the bench. Like he was 18 years old. And I remember we'd go out a lot after games, and sometimes I'd come back with Sid, and it's like Sid would say like, that's not how it should be. That's not how I envision, the NHL. And then, Edzo got fired, Kirk Patrick got fired. They brought, Shiro. And that's when the year after that, we got all the young guys in the team, and it became to build the future of the Penguins. But that was all Sid's leadership.
Yeah.
You
He
know,
was talking about winning cups at those pregame meals when we're last in the league. He's like, we're going to stick together. We're going to start winning cups. I'll never forget it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And now he's still here, the best player.
Crazy.
Just look at what he did this week. Like, they played the big game against Sweden, and then the next days there's an optional, and these
Gives me
first on the
goosebumps.
ice with McKinnon. It's like,
Yeah.
dude. And to me as a player, that was so frustrating when we played in Pitt.
You had to skate.
You had to skate every optional practice. I played 12 minutes. I'm tired because I had drinks the night before. There's an optional on Sunday, and Sid is on the ice, and you're like, he played 22, and he's going hard, and he's on it, and you're like, crap, I got to skate.
I remember coming into the igloo and like optional day, and like I'd see him get his gear on. I'm like, no.
That old ass
Sure
jock.
as shit, I'd walk it. Yeah, his jock was from when he was 8 years old. Dana's stitching the thing together. Oh my God. Yeah, it's crazy. It's
What were
crazy.
some of the weirdest superstitions you seen him have?
Oh, Sid.
Remember throwing the trash away?
Yeah.
And he had to hit it, and all of a sudden it'd be like 20. You're like, we're not leaving till this kid hits his shot.
No. He could. To me, it was not so much a superstition, but it was like, with Flower and going like drills, normal drills, like flow drills, and he would not stop until he scored on Flower. It's like, Balsamo was with the whistle waiting for them to, but it's a flow drill.
He's
Everybody's
banging
waiting in
away.
line, he's
And
banging.
Flower wouldn't. He
No.
was never out of it too. He'd be
No.
diving across, hitting it with
Dude,
his paddle.
Competing so hard. And it's, to me, like I was talking to my son on the couch yesterday watching, some clips of some highlights of the game. And I was like, look at how hard he works, and how, he talks about his teammate and how unselfish he is, and he gives credit to everybody else. And that's why he's there. He's so special.
Yeah, it's how humble he is.
Yes.
And I think like we talk about it all the time, all the people we've interviewed that played with him, but that's the stuff that like I remember is like the humility and the lack of ego, and it goes so far with teammates. You're just like, oh my God, this guy has the right to be the biggest asshole or rude, and he just never was. Like waiters, anyone. He just treated with the utmost respect. So
Just like Mario. He had Mario as a, mentor in some way. He lived 15 years at his house.
they were like
don't know.
circumventing the cap at one point. Remember, I think the league was getting involved.
But it's like you got Mario as a mentor. You're going to end up okay.
Yeah.
Did you see his wink the other night, Mario? Is he the best winker in the world?
Well, him and Patrick Waugh with his famous wink. When
we were talking about it with the.
But you look at Mario, it's the same thing. It's the presence. To me, it's the aura. It's how he presents himself. It's class. It's such good ambassadors for hockey.
It's been since 2019 we've had you on, and I always like getting guys on who had very resilient careers. And I believe that you were not drafted to major junior, correct?
No, I was.
You were?
First rounder, dude.
Oh, you were
Suck
first
it,
rounder?
Suck
Okay,
it,
you were. I know you were an eighth rounder to the
round
show.
in the NHL.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't start out as smooth, but you ended up having an unreal junior career. And I believe that your jersey was eventually retired from the Hall Olympics, right?
Yeah, All Olympics, my major AAA team. And this year I got inducted in the LHJMQ, like the QMJHL Hall of Fame, which was, for me, I was looking back at 2024, like with my kids, and we did, resolution, and in French we call it un bilan, like looking back of the year, what, we did good and everything. And to me, that was, I think, the proudest I've been in a while, being, Hall of Famer of the Q.
Yeah.
Like it was big, and I had a chance to make a speech and kind of look back on your career and thank everybody to help you to achieve your dream. And it was super cool. So it was, but it was not an easy and automatic career. Obviously, being an 8th rounder, there's not even there's 7 rounds anymore in the draft.
You wouldn't even been drafted now. That's crazy.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Terrian, and actually we kind of got a little hook into maybe interviewing him, which would be unbelievable.
I had him on
you?
my show in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago. He was great. He was my first guest when I knew I was going to do like an obstructed view. Like, you can talk to I was like, I got to get Michelle. And the anniversary, sorry to cut you off.
No. I
Keep
love
going,
this.
buddy.
The anniversary of his famous rant, it's been 19 years in January something.
Yeah, we posted it on our socials.
Exactly.
Every year we post it.
5'8", whatever. But we talked about it. We started the show with that, and he always had a plan. And I know you guys, as much as it was tough on us.
I loved them.
Every year that goes by, that's what I was gonna say. Is that I kind of appreciate it more, and I think he was an unreal coach, and the way he did things, while playing it was hard, but you look back and older, you're like, there was a reason for it. And the reason I started asking the question was he came in that year, our rookie year, you'd made the team with Edzo, and then he's fired and Michelle comes in. You got to think maybe your career isn't the same had he not been your coach.
Yeah, I agree. I got very
he was
lucky.
hard on you.
He was hard, but the first move, and we talked about that too. The first move he made when he got the job in December, me and Johnny Leclerc had red jersey. I was on the 3rd line at that time, and me and John Leclerc was on the 5th line. The morning he got the job, and he got me after practice, like, Max, I'm sending you down. And we had a great season the prior year. I'm like, this coach gonna love me. He loves me in the minors. Like, it's gonna be great for my career. First move he makes is sending me down. I'm like, what the fuck, like, Mike, he's like, go down. I heard rumors about you. You're having a little bit too much fun in the NHL, and go become a professional down there and show me that you want to be called back up. And I think they sent me down for 4 or 5 games. I got the call back up after.
Little wake up though.
I remember that. I think I was on the team, and then Nazardine was there as well.
Exactly.
And you came down, and you were awesome. You were professional. You played your balls off.
That's right.
And then right back.
But that was an ask him like why, and I knew the answer, but it was like, I wanted you to have a long lasting career, not just be like, a guy that likes to have fun and. So it was a lesson, and it ended up like you said, it's like I had the chance to have good coaches, but at the same time, you have to take your spot. Like, I'm looking at Emil Heinemann this year and the Montreal Canadiens. He made the team out of camp. It was not like a sure guy, but then he took his chair, like Martin Saint-Louis said. He took his spot, and nobody in the minors could take it away. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what, when you play with like urgency to keep your spot every night. I was a 3rd, 4th line every night, but I knew that there were better players than me in the AHL.
And they were hunting after your job.
Yeah, and that's an 11-year thing. It's not like, hey, okay, even though you win the cup, I'm comfortable at that contract. Crap.
Yeah.
1 week of off hockey, there's someone coming for you. So, the way that I say that I made myself indispensable every night in a way where if it's not by playing good because I don't feel it for a week or two, it's about going to fight, like playing with the music, taking the guys out, organizing party around the team. And that's part of the whole social is part of, being a hockey player, I think.
Intangibles. You had intangibles. I remember we would do it together, but I always remember the one time in Wilkes-Barre, you were working the red line during the playoff series, Pitchfork and McGrattan. Guys twice the size of you, but I remember seeing that and I'm like, well, if this guy's not afraid of McGrattan and I'm not, and we end up like winning that series, but like you would do little stuff like that, and that's why you won the Stanley Cup, and that's why you.
I wouldn't like
forever.
my son to do that, but like
it's
in
crazy
a different
trying
way.
to put it in kids. Like I don't. It's actually a question for you. Like you see kids that are crazy when they're little, and like you hear the term, like it's a lot easier to put out a fire than it is to start one. Did you always have that, or was that put in you?
I feel I was kind of. I wanted it so bad. I was. I was looking for not a way out because I was not in any kind of, but it was so
You're
like,
obsessed.
I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be the guy. It was, maybe I had something to prove, but it's a good character trait. I feel to, you want to be there. It has to be deserved. I was not entitled. I was like, crap, I got to work for it. But you're talking about young kids, in French, we say the same thing, rather, hold a wild horse than push a donkey, right? That's the same kind of illusion we say.
Love that.
And my son is he's exactly like that, man. He can't wait. He's 10 years old. He can't wait to hit. And he takes 1 or 2 penalties per game. And I'm the coach. And I'm like, dude, stop being undisciplined.
But you don't hate it deep down.
But I'm like, if he was not my son, I'd be like, we need grit. Cool. Now he's my son. He's taking penalties. And so you have to have the intelligence. Okay, like, hold on. There's ref there. There's everything. And you're not helping the team by being in the box, but it's good that he has it. Yeah.
The saying is you'd rather hold back a wild horse than push a donkey.
That's
I like that.
I love that. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my neck.
I was the donkey.
That's business theories everywhere.
Me and tonight we're buckled.
Biz used the same one on St. Catherine's last night.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He was a wild horse. No donkeys on St. Catherine.
Where did that come from? Like, when was that instilled in you? Like, from an early age? Did you just always have that? Because you do have a few brothers, right?
Yeah, maybe to being the youngest of 2 older brothers that, we were, my dad would work on the road too. So my mom had the hands full by,
with 3 Talbot kids.
Yeah.
Jesus.
We were wild. And we were, I remember being on like a highway on my bike at 9 years old, like going to see my cousins, like there was not a lot of rules in the house. Our dad not forced us, but encouraged very strongly to, being paper boys at like 9 years old I did it for 3-5 years, waking up at 5:30 to do the paper. So it was all about work. My dad was the hardest working man I know. And so there was never lessons in words in a way where, like I find myself as a dad always trying to bring quotes and, inspirational stuff
Me
for my
too.
kids.
Oh my God.
And I have 2 ADHD and I like that. Come on. So my dad was more about, the way the lessons were made by watching him and, working it so hard for his family to be able to pay for the equipment and everything because we're not wealthy. So like I said, maybe being desperate to actually make my place in the world. I don't know.
When I think of Marc-Andre Fleury and my time with him, I kind of think of you right away. Like it was you two. It was the Talbot and Fleury hanging out, and the fact that he's still doing it too. And I know how close you guys are. I saw you, was it the last game here in Montreal?
Wow.
And then I saw you somewhere else. He recently did something big, but talk about your friendship with him, what he means to you, and another guy who truly is everyone's favorite teammate with his sense of humor and his passion too.
It's nuts. What he's been able to do. Like I remember having a conversation maybe 4 or 5 summers ago. He was still with Vegas and he was asking me about like, Max, what do you do? How did you do to stop playing? Like what do you plan? So he was trying to plan is because he was hurt too and he had problem with his hip, I think. And we're looking back like 5 years ago. And he's still doing it, meaning like he's not ready yet. I think,
still want him to play one more year.
know.
I'm like, I don't want this to be last game in Montreal.
He should,
and
have
he
been
could.
the third string goal.
I know.
for
We
Team
said
Canada.
that on the show.
Like he should have been there. But I skate on him with him every August, right before he leaves for Minnesota. And I bring my son on the ice, and we're 4 or 5 shooters. Beauvilliers, a guy from Sorel, and Bruno Gervais comes and we shoot on him. He rents the ice like during school hockey camp. In a normal public ice rink, and there's like 100 kids in the stands. And I always say like, so he's still half gear, and he signs autograph like an hour after his 2-hour ice session. That's how Flower is. And it's amazing what he's meant for hockey. And you look at the perfect. Why is he capable to have such a long career? For me, is the fun that he brought every day to the rink.
I know that guy he loves the game.
He loves just
and the boys
fucking around. He loves the boys. He loves the game. Yes, I'm sure he loves to compete. He loves to fuck around on the ice in any way. But he loves to, just the boys and
like that. Those saves he made in the game in Montreal, and then they went down to make it 3-0. Like I forget who he robbed, and then they show him after, and he's smiling. It's like this. It's been 21 years, and he's doing the same thing.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Crazy.
And there was 100 people for him after the game, and I was in the room with my 2 kids because Billy G is the GM. So as soon as see me in the stands, like Max. So I'm in the room, and there's guys showering up, and he's covering my my daughter's eyes. He's like, hey, no, don't go there. So, Billy is obviously the best. So with Flower, and I think that it's a very good, we had dinner actually, because I saw this game. Sorry, I'm changing subject, but I saw this game in Montreal, and I was at his last game in Pittsburgh too this year. I was doing the game. So it's 2 special moments, and he had the first star in Pittsburgh also, which is freaking amazing. The night before that game, we had dinner, me, Billy G, so a player with his GM, which is kind of funny to have dinner the night before a game. Sid, Army was there, and Letang. So, and we went to a small restaurant.
Army was the only guy without a cup.
Yeah.
He's got a Chiclets cup. That's about it.
He didn't even win that.
Yeah.
You didn't win it? Oh, fuck. Sorry,
I
Army.
didn't win that.
Ricochet shot.
Sorry, Army. But we had, a bottle of wine, and we chat for a whole night, and it was like if we're back in 2009.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like it was so special where we didn't want to leave. Guys, but at the end we're waiting for the cars, and we're like taking pictures like kids. Like these type of nights where you're like way back, and it's like all the stories about the South Side and everything, and it was amazing. So Flower is just, to me, is like the perfect hockey player. That like when hockey's fun for you, if I can say that for the young kids, if hockey's fun for you when you have adversity, that's when gonna keep you going.
Yeah.
If hockey's forced on you, or you just like mentally want to do so good, or your parents put me through hockey too young and too much, when it gets hard, you're gonna shut it.
What a storybook career he's had too. And I think that last year, people weren't sure if it was going to be his last year. And I don't think he played in Pittsburgh and in Montreal.
He played in Montreal at the start of the year, but in Pittsburgh, because the coach gave him the choice. If you have the choice between Pittsburgh and Montreal this year, which one you're going to take? And he took Montreal last year. And this year he had a chance to do both.
Wow, both. That's unreal.
Yeah.
Given the fact that you were so close, did you get roped into any of these pranks with him, or would he keep it hush-hush from you too?
Well, it's funny because in Pitt, the Pittsburgh practice in Cranberry now, but the Wild was practicing in Pittsburgh, and so the team was away. So they got me Jen Bolano. She asked me to do a prank to Flower because they asked Flower, they were going to do a tribute to him. They asked him like, hey, what do you, he's like, I don't want it sad. I don't want it emotional. He didn't want to cry because Montreal, you could see he had tears, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, I want something light. So they got me to do a prank to him in the morning skate. So I taped, the tape his equipment and fucked around with his shit. So they showed that on Jumbotron for his tribute, all the prank he did. So it was light, but no Flower. I mean, there's why Flower got that? He was always like that, but he roomed with Marc Bergevin.
Oh my
first
God.
year or so.
Before the lockout.
Before the lockout, it was 19.
When he had the yellow pad.
I'll never forget my first training camp. He would come in between periods. He would get completely naked and go shower every period.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, how is this guy not exhausted? He was like the most wily veteron I'd ever seen
He was
in
the
my
king
life.
of the prank, so that's how Flower.
So I mean, Berge would bring like itching powder in his in his luggage to go on the road, so he was always thinking ahead. So Flower kind of got that a little bit from him to start his career, but he was great. He goes all the way. His prank to Duhem was probably the best one. We took the rims out of his truck when he got traded to Colorado.
And Duhem was the one who started it.
Yeah, I know.
And I think somebody
with the
that
cane
was on, they were like, "What are you doing?" Like,
Yeah.
do anything to him.
Don't.
Wrong guy.
No, wrong guy to fuck
Like
around
Army
with.
fighting now. What was that kid's name?
His house is on the
Game
back
notes.
of a truck. They pull it from the ground, relocate
It'll
it.
happen.
Gavin Morgan.
Gavin Morgan. Yeah,
guy.
we check the game notes.
Going back to that run with the Penguins, like obviously it's probably one of the most, if not the most memorable parts of your career. Like what do you reflect on most about it?
Fuck, just the gratefulness of being there. You look at Harmy, you got traded, but you got traded before. So you talk about luck to first of all be in that team, because there's you can get traded, whatever move. They're they're making. But after that, everything that kind of got together at the right time, you know, they like unfortunately fired Tarian right before the run and got Dan, and Dan was that, you know, ex-player coach, super fun, super light. So we got all the good mood in the room. And then Billy G, we got to the train deadline too, that start fucking around with Sid and showing them to just relax and have fun. Billy G was a big help around the team, and then just everything going right. You know, you need a lot of luck. And
I remember that game when Tarian was fired. Remember, we were in Long Island.
Yes.
And we had an afternoon game. And so it was announced in the morning he was fired, and then Bilesma came in. He addressed us basically right before the game. I think that was the first time he talked. And it was just more about like he was totally like changing the tone to go from like serious and hard on guys to just joking around. We lost that game, and then I ended up getting traded. It was just the only game I played, but I was like, wow, it was just a totally different vibe.
Oh yeah,
right off the hop.
Change the system a little bit, but then it is mostly about the vibe. You know, X and O's is something, but when okay, we can breathe, and it's just a change. Remember Fitzy's meeting that game? So Tom Fitzgerald never coached a day in his life, and they fired Andre Savard with Michel. So Fitzy, the coach, the GM of the Devils now, I saw him in Pittsburgh 2 weeks ago, and we talked about that. And so he came in, and you got to run the PK. He never coached, never presented himself. So it's like basically when I started to coach in San Diego, but it was like from an NHL team, like
Crosby and Malkin.
Yeah, exactly. And he's there, and I remember he had like a blue shirt, and in the middle of the speech, he's like, "Sorry guys, I'm sweating," and he was all wet and
drenched.
nervous. And I think he just at one point he's like, fuck it, like just go and have fun, you know, like he was like out of his element. But then we ended up winning and everything, so it was just great.
The craziest part about that run was that Hossa was so sick with us in the finals.
Yeah,
and then like we're gonna re-sign Hossa, and he goes to the team that beat us, and then you play him in the finals again, you're down, you lose that game 5. I think you got blown out.
5-0.
Yeah. And boom, all of a sudden we got to go home, we got to get a win. It was more about going back down 3-2 back to Pittsburgh and getting those 2 in a row. And against a team who probably was better than the year before.
Oh, yeah.
That Detroit team was better than, at least Danny Cleary said the same thing to me.
Yeah. And then they had Hossa, Datsuk and Zetterberg and all these big guys, Lidstrom or Falski, like they were a scary team. And it was kind of the same scenario where we go back home game 6 and we're down by 1. You can win the cup that night. And we won that game 2-1 and went game 7. And, you know, we had Mario's text like right before the game saying, hey, win tonight and we'll see you at center ice. Like he sent us a text message like the night before game 7 is like, guys, 1 game and, you know, we'll see you at center ice tomorrow. And it was like a famous text message that, you know, you look at your phone, it's Mario Lemieux, and it's like that
whole
inspirational text. And then it got us going for sure. And it was just to put like a seed in our mind to have the vision to basically see ourselves there. So, but also it was a weird, you know, move by him. And I respect it.
And it was a 1-year deal.
1-year deal. And he's like, I think I have a better chance to go, you know, and Sid went to vacation after 2008. He went to vacation with Osa. And he was sure that he was going to resign with us. And then what a surprise, like came.
He was so good though, because most people you're like, you lose to Detroit, I want to go join them. Then you lose to the team that you left. But he was so good, he got 3.
He still got 3. He was nuts.
He was a great guy too.
Yeah.
Was that the year you fought Carcillo as well?
Yeah.
Where, you shushed the crowd. And,
you
had some very monumental moments throughout that run, eh?
They got a bobblehead coming out, or did it come out already?
Yeah, February 27th. So in 2 weeks.
We got a shush bobblehead?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is unreal.
This is super cool. Like Jen Bolano called me May of last year. It's like, hey, we're thinking about doing the bubble out of you. Are you okay? I'm like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I got an Obiz one, Kenobi one, a Star Wars one. This guy's getting a Stanley Cup.
I'll trade you. I want it.
I'll trade you one.
But like, they did 5 this year. They did Mario, Jagger, Ornquist, and Kessel, Bubblehead, and myself, because it's the 5 historic moment of the Cups, 91, 92, 9, 16, 17. So we'll be like 50 French Canadian party box, celebrating that. My kids are coming. It's my oldest birthday too that night, so we'll be.
That's gonna be great.
Yeah, and I'm gonna call Carcillo, because every birthday of that date when that moment happened, like there's a lot of traction on social media and Twitter and everything. It's like, oh, anniversary of that moment, because in Pittsburgh it was a special moment. And Carce, I feel like he lives well with it now and everything, but I just wanna, because the game is against Philly too,
right?
So they're making that bubblehead night against the Flyers at home at PPG. So it's gonna be a special moment.
That part of the series, do you remember where the series was at? They were obviously up in that game when you did
Yeah.
that. What was it, an even series, or were you up or down?
I want to say it was like 3-0 at that point. Or was
Well, yeah,
but
in
I'm
the
wondering about the
series,
game.
We're up 3-2. So we're
Okay.
game 6 in Philly, and Philly has the momentum. Like they really have the momentum. So we lose this game, we're going back home. So we're down 3-2 in the series. We're in the start of second. So the first period I did a turnover. The first goal was all my fault. And then second goal, third goal. So we're like, okay, we're going back home. But then in the room, I'm like, I'm not going to score a goal like tonight. Like, what can I do? And so I asked Kars, which we knew very well from,
How tough he was.
Yeah, tough he was. But how volatile he was in a way. So I asked him to go. He said yes. And we fought. Didn't win the fight, but then so he went like this, so I went like this, the opposite. When I woke up, I'm like, he's going like this. The crowd in Philly is going crazy.
You just panicked?
So, yeah, so I was like, shh,
Get the fuck up.
They obviously listened to me.
He was being serious. He was like, stop it.
Yeah,
You told them.
But then I go in the box, and while I'm in the box, we scored 3 goals.
Yo,
So it's 3 goal
that's
switch,
the
right?
best
It was
fucking
amazing.
feeling in the world.
Yeah,
The
like,
first
you
one, you're
know,
like, yeah. But then second, you're like, holy shit, that's great. And then we tied it. I'm like in the box, fucking banging my stick. And I got guys on the bench pointing at me like, yeah,
You
yeah.
did this. You did
Were
this.
they?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
that's
it was the
awesome.
kind of like, because, you fought all your life. Sometimes it can go the other way. Like Kars beat me up. They're up 3-0.
I know.
Fucking, I got this. It's amazing. It's a good story. But then just because my team had such character, we answered with 3 goals. So
And then did it end in OT or did
No, we won 5-3. So Sid got the goal in empty net. Gunshot, I think, tied it. Well, got the G-dub, and then Sid scored to clinch. And then, it was after we went in 7 games against Washington.
I was
which
just
was an amazing series.
I was just
Sid
gonna
versus-
transition to that.
Yeah.
Like
The hat trick game.
Those
Yeah.
Ovi's gonna break the goal record. I
Yeah.
mean, Sid is Sid. These guys have carried the league since they came into the league, and every time that they advanced, they had to play Washington. Going back to that series, I feel like that was the cup.
Oh, it was nuts. It was so big. And like you said, like that game where they both had a hat trick. And it's funny because all throughout the career, I'd be very curious to look at the stats. I think Gino might have more points than Sid against Washington. And I'm not sure. But I'm
Sid crushed Philly. He might have crushed Washington more.
because sometimes you expect Sid and Ovi, and then all of a sudden Gino would score big goals. He scored an overtime goals against that series. And game 7, we're in Washington. And I think in the first 5 minutes, Ovi's got a breakaway on Fleury, and Fleury robbed him with his glove. And then I think we won 7-0 or 5-0 the game 7. But it all started with Fleury save, legendary save. So it was a great series.
Did Washington, when they won their cup, did they have to get through
I
Pittsburgh?
think they beat Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think when each of them have won their cups, they had to go.
Oh,
yeah,
what a legendary rivalry.
and then I think you guys drew Carolina, which was kind of a layup. And then you talk about Gino. I think that was when Gino's parents came to town.
Yeah.
He had I think he had a hat trick one game.
Yeah.
The behind the net spinorama.
Yeah.
goal,
That's the one I think of.
And that's where probably that series where you won the Conn Smythe, because Gino won the Conn Smythe that year. That series, to me, I always say, and it's a very ballsy call, it's like for one game, Max, who's the best player you ever played with? For one game dominating like other players, it was Malkin at that moment at his best. I'm like, I'll take Gino Malkin. He was big, strong, fast. He would, when you're Evgeny Malkin, you start throwing your body around a little bit like the Four Nations Cup. You see all these superstars going at it.
Yeah.
You get inspired on the bench. You're like, fuck me, Malkin's blocking a shot and throwing his body around. Like, everybody's got to go. So Gino was dialed in. I was lucky enough to play on his line too for this series. So it's me, him, and Fedotenko. And I was just going.
And you're just driving in the net.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's when Gino was at like
decoy.
full superhero power when he'd be flying up the ice and he'd just throw it under your triangle.
Oh, yeah.
Like he was so sick
He's
at
not-
that. Like you're coming at him and just like pass it. He'd pass it 1 foot to himself right through your triangle, your stick, and then be gone.
I'll
Russian
never
gas.
forget. He showed
Russian
up
gas.
He showed up to training camp the one year. He took skates right out of the box. I think he might have brought his jock from Russia, put all new gear on, and he was the best guy on the ice.
This year it was the same thing. He started the season fire. He was
he
leading
did.
the league for a while. And same thing, guys were like, because Minnesota game when we had dinner, we're like talking about it. I was like, Gino lost 15 years this year. He's like, he was back to his form, and you look at him go, and it's like he's a specimen too. Like he was. he was very special at that moment.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was.
I know you were in Pittsburgh, but we're in Four Nations here. We talked a little bit about McKinnon. I want to transition right to another superstar you got to play with. I think it was early in his career. He wasn't the McKinnon we know now.
He was living in my house.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we had
his
him
rookie year?
his second year. So his first year went to Giguère's house, and then his second year, Giguère retired, I think. So he came to live at my house. So I had to see the creature from very close, and what a teenager he was. Oh, he was. You know, you look at Sid and Nate, the way that they come from the same place and everything. And I'm looking at Mario, the relationship between Mario and Sid. Sid has that relationship with McKinnon in a way where he was so positive for his development and everything. Because when Nate got in the league, he was different than Sid at 13, right? He was more like chaotic, like a little bit more like
He was more raw.
He was very raw as a
Tell
player.
though what was going to come.
He was like a wild horse that you had to kind of tame, right?
Exactly. He was
I'm not
exactly
even saying that.
We're gonna get tattooed.
He was the donkey pushing him.
I was the donkey, but he was very raw, very raw. But it's the first time I saw a player, and I'm like, the speed that he has is getting dangerous. Because I got the question asked actually 2 nights ago. I was like, how much did the speed evolve since we played, right? And I'm like, you know what? It's a weird question because you look at Sid, hasn't got faster, Doughty, all these guys that we played against, they're not faster than they were, right? But the youth, some specific player are way faster.
Yeah.
So they move the puck faster, they move their leg, the way of, McDavid isn't, you look at another planet, right? But I think McKinnon and McDavid are they're both on a different planet compared to the rest of, but McKinnon was the first time, like, if he steps on a stick right before the net, I'm like, he's gonna kill himself.
Because he's going that fast.
Because he's going so fast.
Yeah.
Right?
So I think that's part of the reason why he's doing those pool exercises is you have to get to a place mentally where you're not fearful of going that hard, especially as you're nearing in on the net, other bodies, and then getting to the end wall. I think that
your speed could be,
They said that downhill skiers do the pool exercises, and as a downhill skier, you're diving in.
Yeah.
No second thinking. Is like you're taking every cut like as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And the way that he goes, he's ferocious about it.
Yeah. Well, think about all the times where you struggle mentally at hockey. To me, it was when I was fearful. When you play with a doubt, that's when you slow down, a second or two on every play. Like you're hesitating on every play, and that's where you start, doubting. And I would write on my knob like no fear for a couple years, like just play with no fear. It's the only way, especially when you're not so skilled. Like that's the only edge you got on everybody else.
And you had to bring that aspect to the game, like your game.
Yeah, exactly. But these guys, for sure,
I used to put no skill on my stick.
Yeah, it worked well for you.
No confidence, no skill.
Great guy out at night though.
Yeah. All fear.
All fear.
God.
Just don't turn it over. You'll be out of the lineup, you fucking idiot. But oh man, that's so like getting to see him early stages was pretty fun and see his through. Was he having at that point though, he started working with a mental coach. Were you around for that?
I was not around, but he was
a little later, I think.
Yeah.
A little later, okay.
But you could tell that he was so raw that he was going to develop into something amazing, right? And we had that little rivalry in the room between him and Duchesne too. So that was a situation where Patrick Waugh and Joe Sakic, they had to obviously pick one because they were always in competition for points.
Shit, eh?
A little bit at the start, it was because
Duchesne was third overall.
He was making points, and and Nate wanted that, and then you had Gabe Landeskog, which was one of the best leaders I've seen too. The kid was like 21. He looks like he's 30 in his maturity and body language. He was just amazing. And Tyson Barrie was there too. So we had a fun team. But yeah, Nate was like a wild horse for sure. That's the definition that so good on him to mature the way that he's done. Because even a couple of years ago, when snapping his coach a little bit and everything, but that's because he wanted it so bad, right? He likes to compete, so he's a wild horse.
Yeah, he's competitive as shit.
I don't think when players move over to rivals, it's as scrutinized as it used to be. Like we talk about the Chelio stuff. Did you feel weird when you ended up signing in Philly? Like, was there hesitation to be
huge hesitation? It was such an important decision of your life. You're free agent once. Usually, there's one time that unless you're an exceptional player,
Yeah.
So I'm 2 years away from winning the cup. We won in 2009. I'm free agent 2011, and the phone's ringing, and
You wanted to stay.
I wanted to stay, but it was not going to work because they were stuck at 2 years, and Pat
You knew what
Brisson,
you could
we
get.
already 5 years, team calling for 5 years. So you're like, hey, like
Monumental change.
yeah.
Money.
And I remember being at 2010 to 2011, we went on vacation with Sid after you went in France and had fun down there. And I remember talking to him in 2011. He's like, Max, like, are you going to stay? I'm like, I wish, like, I hope so. But at the same time,
I'm setting up my family
between
here.
2 and 5 years, you're like, but, and then when the phone started to call, I was like, start to ring. I was, it was my golfing the night before, but I prepared like an Excel like template with like, what are my priorities that I'm looking for as a free agent, you know? And I was a member of Maple Leaf for a week too, because
The rights were traded.
the rights were traded because Brian Burke wanted to talk to me before free agency, and it was great, man. I almost signed there, and they were offering me more money than I got with Philly. But to me, the important thing was to win, and they were not in that, you know,
You hear that
phase.
Toronto can't win.
Oh, that was a difficult time. Fuck you. That was the downturn.
No, but nothing again at that
You
time.
saw Philly as a
Yeah.
chance to win the cup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with Michel Tarrant, which was not my coach anymore. He called me. He's like, Max, where are you going? You know, just as a friend. And I'm like, this team. He's like, Max, stay in the East. He's like, you're a guy that likes to perform on the spotlight at 7 p.m. He's like, you're going to go in the West. You're going to be there. You're going to lose a little bit of your
Spunk.
Your spunk. Yeah. So it was a great advice, but it was tough for me to leave. And the first year that I signed Philly, we played the Penguins in playoff, the first round.
You beat them,
and
right?
we beat them.
Yeah.
It was that crazy series where
was like
Brizgalov-
20 goals a game.
Yeah, Brizgalov,
Nobody could stop a beach
Fleury.
ball.
Exactly.
Flower was, yeah.
Oh my God.
Brizgalov took
That
his
was
90
brutal
sheets
that
or
year.
whatever it was
Yeah.
and said peace.
And Briz, you know, remember the universe thing on HBO with, you know,
Oh my God.
and we gave Bobrovsky to sign Brizgalov, you know, like if you think about the trouble Philly had with goalies forever, like you give away like, you know, Bobrovsky for Briz, and Briz was the same as Gino. He showed up to camp, he had new gear, didn't skate all summer. I was like, we signed this guy for 9 years or 7 years at the time. I'm like, whew, it's gonna end the whole season. It was tough. I mean,
Different guy.
Yeah.
I played with him in Arizona. That was where he came from when he signed that big deal, and you know, different guy.
And he'd been that good with you guys. To earn
he was exceptional. But the thing is, though, is he had Sean Burke as a goalie coach.
Yeah.
And he was the goalie whisperer. And then I think after Briz left, we had Mike Smith, and then Mike Smith had that
turned
year.
into
Yeah.
And they had Devin Dubnyk. He turned his career around. They had I think there was like 2 other goalies that he did that for.
Yeah. And the system, he would always put the system on this too, because when he got to Philly, he had excuses of his performance, and he still holds the record for the most, because Jari and the Penguins were almost beating him this year, the most game first shot allowed in a
he
row.
was giving up the that's a killer.
Every first shot would get in the net. And you're like, okay, we're going to score 2. Yeah.
down one. You're in
he
the
has the
locker room
record that
pregame.
year. It was like, come on, man. Stop the first one. We have a chance.
Who did you guys in Philly that year? Did you make it to the conference final too?
No, we lost second round against Jersey in 5. And they
ended up going to the final.
I think so, yeah.
And partway through that year, was that when Mike Richards and Carter got traded?
No, at the right before the free agency in that summer. I think at the draft they got traded.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I signed there. You know, that July 1st they signed Jagger, they signed Brizgalov, and then after that I was July 1st. But I'm like, this team's going in the right direction. They wanted to, you know, make change. Paul Lundgren, yeah, Giroux was there. Right. So Couturier was his first year. Voracek was on fire.
Actually,
Simmons was there.
That year you beat was the year you beat Pittsburgh when Giroux had that shift where he kind of owned Sid.
Yes, he fought.
Ran him over and scored a goal. Yeah. Remember that?
Oh,
yeah.
That was the year you guys beat him.
Oh, yeah. It was a
crazy
playoff series.
Yeah.
I remember after the game, I think it was some game in Philly where after the shift, I remember watching the TV and Sid's post-game comment were like, I don't like any of these guys on the other side, you know, like the big rivalry and everything. So after the game, I'm like watching the slip and I'm like sad, first of all, you know. So I take my phone and I'm like, even me, Sid? It was like, you're okay, Max.
You want to hear the scores in that series? 4-3, 8-5, 8-4, 10-3, 3-2, and 5-1.
Yeah.
It was nuts. It was nuts. Couturier had a hat trick too and playoff series.
Couturier was young.
Yeah, and Yags was like so cool to play with.
Who was the Philly coach?
It was Lavi.
Laviolette.
That year was Lavi, and then the second year, It was Lavi again, the third year when I got traded to Colorado. Lavi had 3 games, and Chief got in as head coach, Greg Berube.
Yager. We got to get Yager stories.
That's what
Sounds like you got some.
I was going to say, before we get to Yager, when you signed with Philly, who was the first text that you made? Did you text Sid right away? Who was the first guy?
I think they saw it, but then I think everybody was texting
Bob
me.
McKenzie break.
Like,
it was
fuck you.
It was a big. I mean, for Pittsburgh, I was scared too because I was so involved in the city of Pittsburgh. You know, my charity. I was trying to build something, and the next day you're basically a traitor. Like, it's really how the Pittsburgh fans took it, right? You're like, well, how can you do that? I go somewhere.
They don't
just
think
don't
of what
there.
goes into it.
No, exactly. But it got me motivated also. Like, my first year in Philly, I had 19 goals in my career year. Like, I played amazing, and I was motivated in playoff. I played good too in that series. So I was motivated. But then I got there, and it's not to bash anybody, obviously, but it was tough to make the transition after 6-7 years in Pittsburgh. And everything is run so smoothly by, Mario being the owner. And it was like an A1 organization. And I got to Philly, and it was like, it was no protein, no chefs yet. Now they're up to the standard, But back in the day, it was like, it was not there yet. So I remember being like uncomfortable at start. Like, hey, can we, and kind of needy, like, hey, can we make sure the guys have this? Or you signed me 5 years for leadership too. And you're 27,
I'm gonna tell you
just won. Like, hey, maybe that's why you signed me, to bring a little bit of culture at Pittsburgh to bring to Philly.
You're like, you hire the fucking omelet guy.
Well, that was kind of it. Like, and we get breakfast, so it was part of like, the moments being there. But
did you get the booze in Pittsburgh when you touched the puck when you were on Philly?
The booze? No. Okay. Sorry. The booze. I thought you said the booze. I got the booze.
You're like, I got booze. I got some booze here and there everywhere.
No. But you know what? It was I think December 27th, and they made me a tribute video at the start of the game, and I was like nervous about it. I was like, how is it going to turn out? And there were, at the start, it was a little bit of both, and then the claps got loud because it was a cup video, right?
Yeah.
So the claps got louder. I was like, okay, peace. It was like, to me, it was peace, and to be able to be back in Pittsburgh and doing TV there and seeing my jersey still there, and how faithful this crowd is, and how proud the city of Pittsburgh is. So it was really, I'm very grateful that they kind of re-accepted me as a Penguin.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yager, though, we got to talk about that. Was when he was going to the rink at like 10 o'clock at night and skating with ankle weights and weights on his stick.
Yeah,
he kind of
did all that.
Playing.
Yeah.
He's still.
Well, he's in Atlantic City all day, Biz. So the only time to get the ice was 10 o'clock.
I think like Heat Daddy recently posted his hockey DB page, and he's like, I don't think people understand how insane this is.
It's nuts. And we were lucky enough. He was at Mario's fantasy camp last year, because his season was over in Klangdo in Czech, and he came to play because Mario's last year was the first time he didn't skate at the fantasy camp. He does a big thing for his charity, his foundation. He does, you play with sponsors and fans, and we're 2 ex-players per team, and Kobe's there, Tyler Kennedy, all Mario's friends. And Yager came to replace Mario kind of, and it was such a legend, like, playing in every team. And he retired his jersey last year too, and I got invited for that. That
was a big deal.
It was huge. It was like peace. It was kind of peace, because when we signed in Philly, there was rumors he was going to sign back, because that's when he was in Russia and he was going to sign back in Pitt. So people were kind of excited. Then he signed in Philly, so people were kind of pissed. And then they retired his jersey last year, and it was amazing moment. Mario was there. He made the joke about his girlfriend. Like, remember that speech where he got on the ice in his ceremony? He's like, everybody remember me play, but unless
other than my girl.
My girl, she was too young. She was not even born or something. So
him and Belichick.
But same. Yeah. But I sat beside him last year at Mario's Fantasy, and it's just like the amount of stories that he's got, through life, and he's got a different perception on life, on religion, on, where he's from, the war, extraterrestrial. Like, he's a very, very deep guy. Like, he still reads his Bible before every game, right? That was something I was like, what are you reading? Like, he sits like down his stall, like right, his stall's here. He sits on the floor and reads his Bible before every game. And even when we interviewed him for my show in Pittsburgh this year, he had like a Christ jersey. So I don't know if he's born again or religion was always part of his life, but he wants to spread the good news in that way. So he's a very, very profound and interesting guy. I mean, I signed there, and every dinner I had a chance to sit by him and just chat him up about
Oh yeah.
life. You know,
We had him on the show year or two ago, and he did it at 12:30 in the morning in Czech, and he gave us like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the night, and he's
He's just
awesome.
full of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Full
is.
of life.
He's a passionate guy. Like
Yeah.
And even the way he went back to play for that team because they were gonna like fold, so he bought the team to keep it there, and
he does everything with that
cool.
team too. Like now, I think he's getting a little tired about that. He talked to us about that. I think he's trying to sell or something. But he's a passionate guy. He's a character. Like
Still playing on that.
yeah,
I know
Cheer.
it's fucking
It's
crazy. I think he
insane.
lost a tooth recently,
yeah, he did.
a denture.
Are there any other players that you played with throughout your career where you're just like, it comes to mind right away that were so impactful on you and just like rubbed off on you? I mean,
Except you, I don't know. Well, Mario, like Mario is a special guy to play with. You know, our first year he's there, and it's like, you know, first game in Jersey, you were there. We had a 2-on-1 chance. My first NHL game, I was in the line with Merles, and we were killing penalties together. And we had
Short-handed?
short-handed on
He
Brodeur.
thinks he would have played 20 years had this goal gone in.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably.
I'm telling you, if they had the stats that they keep now for who gives up the shorthanded goals, like our PK was horrible, but we would play together. We didn't give up any of the goals. It was the other group that gave up all the goals, but it reflected on us.
You needed the advanced stats.
I needed Pasha back then. We were weapons here. We got tons
Under
of
the
chances. I
hood.
just couldn't bury. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
I
But I'd say looking back also, Patrice Bergeron, to me, is like the Sidney Crosby of Quebec in a way that, you know, he's so... He's so proper and so nice.
yeah.
And
it must be exhausting to be that perfect.
I agree.
It's fucking.
I think
you
that's
look at his
just how he
family.
lives, though. I think it's him. Like,
Yeah.
there's no act.
Oh,
It's
no,
just-
no.
He's just a pro.
His family, you know, is like his beautiful wife and his kids. They're all, you know, like you looked at him, you're like, yeah, he's the type of guy you want to marry your daughter, right? Like he's such a professional leader in the room. It was Sharaz, the captain, my last year. But Berge was like, was leading the charge for sure.
He's coaching one of his kids is an 18 birth year, and so my son's a 17 birth year. So we had a game after his team was playing. He coaches like the junior Eagles. My son Ryder standing with me. I'm like, hey, you see that guy at the end of the bench for the Eagles? He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's Patrice Bergeron. He's like, what? And some lady straight out of Massachusetts. It was like a Dunkin' Donuts commercial. She's like, what? She's like, that's Bergeron? I'm like, yeah, that's him. She's like, holy shit, honey, get over here, Patrice Bergeron. Look how hot he is. He's unbelievable. Get your picture, Jimmy. Get your phone. And I was just, and then after, everyone's like seeing him, and he's just professional, great looking guy, like in great shape. It was like, this is the guy.
Now he's hopping into the media too. He's slowly getting into
He's
it.
doing that unobstructed views on NESN.
Yeah, I went on with him one time. It was cool. He was home for Christmas in Quebec, but he did a good job, and it was cool talking because you're watching the game and him talking about like penalty kill or angling, forechecking stuff. It was like, wow, like you forget how good he was, and then he talks. You're like, he knows the game so well. Like I could have seen him coaching, but he actually could be a GM too. It's
I think so.
GM style.
One thing I read that I was a little surprised at is how much you loved the KHL.
Yeah,
you loved it.
I did, and
that was how you finished your career, right?
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't get a deal in the NHL anymore.
Listen, I was in Boston my last year, and it was I was up and down, and I just had my second kid, and so we're in the month of March, I think, in April, and I'm thinking about the next year, right? I was doing Providence, Boston the whole year. My wife was there. We just had a second kid. And the first phone call in March, I think it was a Lokomotiv Yaroslavo. And they called me. They had a great offer, and I'm like, okay, what are the alternative? I can go PTO. I can go in a two-way somewhere else, like because I was up and down. I'm like, that's insecurity for a family. I didn't want to be away from a family. I'm like, my wife was a figure skater too, so she competed in Russia quite a bit. So she's a warrior. She's like a little lion. So she's like, yeah, let's go. Let's try it out. And I said, I was signed, I think, before the season was over, or right by the season ended. I'm like, let's try it out. And I went there.
Did you have to go July 1st?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did the Army camp.
I missed that at least. But you're actually the guy who'd be like fucking loving it.
At least they had nice facilities. Yaroslav's arena was beautiful.
Amazing.
I played there under 18.
I liked playing there.
11,000 people.
Yeah.
And I was doing a TV show with Bob Hartley, 3 days ago, and Bob was my coach for almost my last year, and we're talking about stories because I played there 2 years. It was amazing years. Like I said, the first year, live in a shitty little apartment. It was complicated. Second year, they built a baza, so they built a practice facility. It's the nicest thing you ever seen. Like for a team, we lived there. All the imports, the 5 imports. We had the apartment with 3-bedroom. We had like babysitting, catering, food, gym, soccer, football.
This is for Omsk?
Yeah, this is for Yaroslavo.
Oh, you were both years there.
2 years there, 1 year in Omsk.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
So it was the Costco across the street, and it was like the easiest thing I ever seen. Like I could skate with my kid every morning, like if I wanted, because it was the practice rink was in the building. There was a spa there. There was like 5 different type of saunas, like in the building, just for the hockey team. It was a very good program. Then I got bowed out right before, 2 days before I went for my third year, because I signed a third year there, and the coach, was special there. And
yeah, you don't want to say anything. You don't want to get a fucking red dot on your forehead.
Yeah. Well, I got scared one time playing against Ska. I'll get to that. But so finally, I'm there with David Desharnais, the guy for the Habs. And so Omsk got us. Like Bob Hartley was his first year there. He's like, he needs French Canadian to help him, because I was in the league 2 years prior. And we went there. And my first game with Omsk right after I got bought was in Yaroslavo. So we won 4-0. I got 2 goals.
Oh, suck it.
And my ex-coach that just bought me out. So I got the first star. I got on the ice, and Bob Hartley was telling me the story. Like, he's like, Max, I had shivers all over. So I got on the ice, and he gave me like a Maxime Talbot in Yaroslavo when I'm playing for Omsk, and we beat them 4-0. And I'm looking at the coach straight in the eyes, and I'm like,
you always stepped up.
It was
a bigger accomplishment than maybe the Stanley Cup goals is when you can get paid by 2 Russian teams at the same time.
Yeah, and not be dead. They were probably trying to spike your food.
But there's one thing I got scared one time. We're playing Ska, which is St. Petersburg. So the coach, the GM, is like the Olympic team coach and GM, and they're the richest team in the league. It's Gazprom that owns them. And we play them in playoff. At one point, there's a goal in playoff that gets kind of taken away. So we score a goal. It hits the round thing right beside the bench, just the round glass. Yeah. So we score the goal, and like 20 seconds prior, it hits the round thing. And Scott asked the ref to review this, but it's not reviewable.
No.
Well, there's rumors that they. So
they'll review anything.
They go review the goal and they take it away. Like they take a goal away. So I'm fucking furious. So I go in front of their bench and I'm like, fucking dinky. I say, money. I'm like, dinky, fucking. And I'm aggressive. And the coach of Scott, which is the coach of the Olympic team, he's like this with Putin or whatever. I don't know. But he's like,
Putin,
he looks at me and he goes,
Putin.
Yeah, Putin. He gave me the throat slash. The coach.
In Russia, that's immediately.
Pack the bags, honey. We're out of here tonight.
So I go in the room after, and I'm like, guys, should I be where? He's like, duh.
It's Russia.
But I loved everything about my experience. When there was weird things about it, I was like taking and like it, and it's part of the experience. I went there with an open heart, being like, hey, like this is gonna be fun, and my kids had fun, my wife had fun. But the third year with the 3 kids, it became a little chaotic living in Moscow because Omsk ring broke, so we played in Balashiha. So the Omsk team, we were located in Moscow, but I lived on the Red Square street with Desharnais. It was
with a baby too.
Yeah, with a young baby. But it was good. But it's not for everybody. But you have to have the right personality to prove yourself to these guys that you're there for the right reasons. You have to work hard on them and like drink vodka with them. And once they accepted you after like a week or 2 or a month, then like they're hard worker. I still have a bunch of friends that are there, and I really enjoy it. Oh yeah. That's guys awesome. Still text me like at 3 a.m. like when they're going out, and they it's
that's great.
It was a good experience.
Yeah, they don't speak English to you till you have that night out with the vodka. Then they're all buddies.
You realize they spoke English the whole time.
Oh yeah, that happened to me.
Did you have any other crazy experiences there that you're able to talk about other than the throat slash? Like, and I heard that the guys were talking about how if like they went on a goal drought, they would like slaughter a lamb in the crease and they would like cook it after.
One person told us that story.
Yeah,
I never experienced that.
You're like, we had Costco, not this.
Who told us that story?
Oh, I forget. I think it might have been.
It was like where the Zamboni leaves the ice.
Yeah. I think it was the guy who played for. Did he play for the Quebec?
Was it Tim Brent? Was it Tim Brent?
Paré?
Who?
Francis Paré? No.
No, I think he played for the Quebec Ramparts. We had him on.
Hennessy?
Hennessy.
No.
Wasn't Hennessy?
Maybe, actually.
But there's, I
We
live
need
in
to get a
Moscow.
clip of all the Russian stories and make a video. We could sell that video.
Was it It was Dahlman.
Oh, yeah.
Dahlman.
Yeah, Dahlman had
Who was
some-
he was like fucking Makar over there.
We should do a podcast in Moscow.
Yeah, I don't know if I can ever go
you
back.
can't.
That's true. That's true.
I've been
You've-
tough on that country.
You've been
He had the
tough on the league.
fighter jet.
But I
videos.
actually do. I have said that I really loved playing the games over there. The crowds,
Yeah.
how good the hockey was, some great rinks. It was more the other stuff, but I was also single, whereas like having your wife there would have made it a lot easier,
Yeah.
right? Like not being so lonely. But I don't know if I'm willing to step back from Russia. But Moscow was a hell of a city.
Yeah.
Moscow is like New York City on steroids. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
We have surviving Barstool. We're gonna have surviving Russia.
I already did it. I already won that one.
I was just gonna ask you, like in post, like now that you're not playing anymore, I've noticed that you're like very into jiu-jitsu.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh, were you gonna ask about that?
Well, I was. I got
Busy?
2 knee surgery last year from jiu-jitsu.
So you can get injured from that stuff. Huh?
Oh, crap. I
know.
went there and,
Were you competing?
oh, yeah, I did competition and everything.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was not federated in Quebec, so we had to go Ontario. So my competition went to Ottawa. Now it got federated in last year. But it was the most fun I had playing a sport. I mean, except hockey. Like, I think my medals from my jiu-jitsu competitions are in my office and not my small Stanley Cup, like I was so proud because
Yeah, because it was something else.
yeah, something new. You learn from scratch. And I'd go to gym like 5-6 times a week and just being so motivated to learn and to get better. And, the first week you get strangled by 140
Well, you were
pounds
used
chick,
to that
right?
playing in Pittsburgh
Like
with the
you
hot tub on your roof.
Yeah, I used to like that back in the days. But when you're growing up, it's not the
Except
same.
with belts.
But it was a very cool sport. My 3 kids were doing it. But then I went to roll December 27 of 2023 and tore my meniscus, got a surgery, got back training, torn it again, and I got a second surgery. So now I'm kind of like, I'm missing moments with my kids skiing because of a pastime, basically, a passion. So it's like, it's a tough sport, but I encourage everybody to do it. It's like awesome.
It also like allows you to be in the moment and be present,
Yes.
right? Which is something that's, at least I find, very difficult,
Yes.
and something I enjoyed. Where I haven't done the jiu-jitsu yet. I did that. What's it called? Krav Maga. I did that. It's fun. Like I would consider also
Yeah.
getting into jiu-jitsu and something like that.
Thompson's doing it too. Sean Avery.
Avery's big into it.
Well, yeah, when I was getting
Bugsy.
Bugsy's doing it. He's
yeah,
rolling.
Bugsy. I saw you at the, what I
He
played.
tapped me out in the
I
sandbagger.
saw that. I was proud of him. But even when I was getting good, I remember like Avery liking one of my posts and stuff, and we start messaging like quickly because Yale has the reputation. I know you interviewed recently that he hated French guys, right? Because whatever.
Well, you
know.
were the type of guy like his weight class.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you guys had to hate each
and
other.
I tried to fight him once too, and the ref got into it, and I went like this, and he goes like meow meow in the box. He was fucking around with
He's
me.
a funny fucker.
Yeah. So I was thinking, hey man, can we plan some type of competition like me and him and raise money for fun? But then I stopped, and now he would kill me because he kept doing it privately and everything. But but like you said, being in the present moment was a big thing. But I find that in golf and in pickleball. I'm big on pickleball now. I play like twice a week.
I'm
like,
putting one in my backyard.
I have one in my
right now because you did it.
I have one in my backyard
Okay,
too.
let's go, buddy.
Yeah, I love it. It's so fun.
Yeah, I have one in my backyard too. It's awesome.
It's time for the Roback last question now, Talbot. Use code Chiclets, CHICLETS on roback.com for a generous 20% off your first purchase through the end of the week. That's Chiclets on roback.com, RHOBACK.com. 20% off all hoodies, joggers, and more with code Chiclets. Us being in Montreal, you being a part of the media now, we were saying walking into the Bell Center, I need the Canadians back in the playoffs, and thinking of a cup final in this building, in this city. Where do you see their team headed? Do you like where it's headed? They had the great run this season. They have Demidov coming over. Like, what are your thoughts on that organization?
I trust the leadership.
Yeah, I like Ken Hughes a lot.
I feel like Ken Hughes, Gordon, they have the right way. They have a plan. I think they're taking very good care of the players. Jeff Molson's on board with their plan. I think the fans are on board with the plan too. Are the fans getting impatient a little bit?
Little bit now.
Yes, because, this year we're the same place as standing as they were last year. So we're talking about progression. going back to the golf tournament this year, talking, we want to be in the mix, right? And they were in the mix in January. They had that amazing run. Everybody's like, oh, so excited. We got to make the playoff this year.
They lost Gooley, though.
They lost Gooley. They lost Enneman was a big loss,
Yeah.
bigger loss than we thought also, because since Enneman got hit by a car in San Jose. Yeah.
Fucked up.
Yeah.
That's how he got
on the
hurt.
way to the
Swedish
game.
kid, young kid.
Yeah.
Nice player.
Yeah, a great player. So he was like, they were the best fourth line in the league with Evans and Armia. They were playing amazing. And so these two injuries, Dobesh was a great story. Now it's like, the team's not, so the team's getting patient with Laney right now, but the stories of the year was Hudson.
You've liked watching him?
Oh, fuck.
How about the
He's
motor on that
like a
kid?
Quinn Hughes. He's going to be a Quinn Hughes.
Oh yeah, like for sure. Like he's doing a lot of things right. He creates like a lot of offense from nothing. Like he's very a generational talent. Like he's gonna be good for.
Eric Engel said it's a lazy take about his defensive play,
Yes.
where he does. You can see some clips where he gets roasted, but I guess everybody does. But you're
Yeah.
very impressed with even defensively.
He competes. That's the thing. His compete level is so intense. He's got a great stick. So he competes. His stick is there. Of course, he's going to get, he's not the fastest skater in straight line, but he's so agile.
He's quick.
So, yeah. So that's the biggest story of the year. Carrier's trade was amazing. Alexandre Carrier that they want to get in Nashville too helped help the defensive corps, having everybody in the right chair. And the guys keep growing. I think they'll have a problem with Evans' contract right now. I think they started to talk because he's a big part of this team. He's becoming a big part of this team. He's going to be free this year, so there's trade rumors. So I'm excited to see what they're going to do because, he's worth, maybe 4 a year right now, 4 or 5 year contract. So are they going to take that chance? Because if you lose him, Beck is coming up. He's playing well, Owen Beck. But then you have like Suzuki, obviously. But after not convinced with Doc on the second yet, so now it leaves like the second, third line center open. So they still have a lot of, I think, moves to make to become that team. But I like the face of the team and Suzuki's leadership, Caulfield,
and the prospects are nice.
Yeah, I
they
think
got some big
they
guys.
have good goalies too. There's
Fowler
the
at
Fowler's
BC.
coming. There's a Russian goalie too that's doing good. So they have some stuff in the bank, but you need to put it all together.
Hey, there's no guy that can answer this question better than you. This is total rumor, boys, but will we ever see Crosby playing for the Canadiens?
Oh crap! People got excited this week, eh? Like,
Oh, my God.
Imagine that. But man, it's so tough. Like, I wouldn't want to be Kyle Dubas like right now in Pitt. He's got a lot of work to do, right? I think he started the process of rebuild right now with the recent move, but like I think you just need to address it with Sid. I don't have any ends of that answer. But you need to ask Sid, like, what do you want to do? That's the only thing that Dubas can do, basically. He's got no move, no trade. But I think to accelerate the build of the Pittsburgh Penguin franchise, it's one thing you need to consider.
It's
Do you think it's more likely he ends up with the Abs than he would with Montreal?
But that's the rumor, probably, to play and have a chance to win and stuff like that. Because I don't know if Montreal is ready to win in the next 2 years. Who knows? But so you go there basically just for the story
Just
and
text him and ask
play and for we'll call him.
He's like, if
Text
you
him
hadn't
and
signed
Mario.
if you hadn't signed in Philly, I'd tell you.
Are you gonna sign for much? I don't know. I mean, as a fan of the game, I mean,
I just want him in the playoffs. Like, that's
I
I just want to. After last night, it was one game, so I can't wait till Saturday night with USA. It's like
I had
you just
Pittsburgh
miss him in
Penguins.
the big games. You just miss
Yes.
seeing him in the big ones.
I had bloggers and media from Pittsburgh. They were not happy with me starting to kick up dust on the Crosby to the Abs.
I know.
But like you just said, I'm a fan of the game. Like, I would love to see Sid back in the mix and playing him and McKinnon together. That would be an NHL dream. The fucking cap would go up another $3 million.
I agree that if he goes, imagine him going to New York Rangers, like, a big market, or even Toronto, let's say that. But you look at his face, you're like, can you see him with a different jersey? Like, I can't.
I can't.
Oh, okay.
But
I can't.
I can't.
But
I
somebody
can't.
did send me a photoshopped one of him with the Abs one on, and it looks the most normal.
You put it over your bed.
Yeah,
You're like,
I did.
Yeah, but you haven't even seen one with him with a Habs jersey on. Imagine that one. It probably looks.
They had the
Yeah, it would
chance
probably
going
look-
the
The
other
red
night.
Habs jersey.
Crosby.
Oh,
God.
they say that Habs is likely because his father was the biggest Habs fan growing
Yeah.
up. So I don't know.
Talbot.
This was awesome.
Any
thanks,
kid who
guys.
wants to make the NHL, listening to how you approached your life and your
Yeah.
career, It was an honor playing with you, buddy, and we appreciate you swinging by.
boys.
This was a blast.
And remember, kids, it's better to hold back a wild horse than it is to push a donkey.
For sure. Do that.
There
Do
we
that,
go.
guys. It's hey, and guys, I'm so proud of you guys. Everybody,
Thank you.
hey, you guys played with the Spittin guys, you know,
Those
here in
idiots.
Quebec. Yeah, and I'm so proud of you guys, man, watching you on TNT. I always say it's fucking the best intermission. I don't miss those, you know. Like
Wow, that's an honor.
for sure. It's you
We
guys are
should
doing
get
a
you
great
on
job.
there for one, Talbot.
Ah,
We got Tuukka Rask coming in on Monday.
Oh,
It's
that's
Finland.
great.
Oh, is he coming?
Yeah, Tuukka
Nice.
Rask is joining in the
That's
mix.
great.
So I think
love
they're going to start incorporating more and more guys. So just don't take my spot, please.
Maxime
I need a
Talbot.
job.
Never. Thanks, guys.
Legend.
Love you.
Appreciate it, boys.
Guys, Whit here. I want to talk to you about body armor. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Flash IV. Body Armor Flash IV is packed with electrolytes and provides faster and longer lasting hydration with 0 artificial flavors, sweeteners, or dyes. That's the stuff you cannot have in your drink. And Flash IV has none of it. None of that crap. No artificial flavors, no dyes, no sweeteners. It's all goodness in a Body Armor Flash IV, and that includes the flavors. Great tasting flavors like strawberry kiwi and tropical punch. Body Armor Flash IV gives your body the rehydration it needs to recover. I had a long weekend. All of a sudden, I got home. I had a new shipment of Flash IV. Boom! Down the hatch. I felt phenomenal on a Monday morning waking up when back in the day, I wouldn't have felt so great. And it's all because of Body Armor Flash IV. Get yours at a local 7-Eleven or on Amazon today. That's right. You can go right on Amazon, go down to your local 7-Eleven, get your Body Armor Flash IV. It'll bring you back. You'll feel great, and you'll be hydrated for as much as you need to do. 7-Eleven or Amazon today. That's Body Armor Flash IV. Thank you so much to Max Talbot. What a guy. I'm so happy to see how well he's doing, and that guy lives life with a lot of passion, man. Like what he's tried so many different things. He's got all his hand in all these different things, and I had a blast playing with him. Every day he had energy at the rink, and I hope you could kind of see that or hear that from listening to that interview. So thanks a lot, Max. It was great spending time with you. And the guy, we had nowhere to sit. We had nowhere to go for
Yeah,
the
he helped us
U.S.-Canada
out.
game. And all of a sudden, he gets on the phone, and boom, we're sitting in a box. And we had a great night. So, Max, what a guy. Thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate it. And on to the Quick Hits, which is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. Finally, there is a scrub designed for men's needs. Add the new Dove Men Plus Care body and face scrubs to your shower routines. Use in the shower, bath, or at your sink. Apply to wet skin, rinse clean, and follow with your favorite Dove Men Plus Care body wash or cleansing bar. Scrub transforms how your skin feels, and it's made for your face, your body, and your scalp. So right now, go to Dove Men Plus Care, check it out, get involved. You'll look amazing. If you want to try it, find it at Walmart today. Guys, I did want to mention that with all the talk about Ovi and his goal chase and how cool this story is, there is a Crosby side to this and what he's chasing. And that is that if Sid finishes this year with a point per game or better, he would break Wayne Gretzky's all-time record. He would have 20 seasons as a point per game player or better. Wayne did it 19 times, as Sid has. So I think Sid needs 16 points to guarantee himself over a point per game again, which is just the fact that he's knock on wood, going to do it. That is just wild. I mean, 20 years in a row as point per game or better. So that's an amazing thing to see happen. And it's just incredible and unfortunate to see Pittsburgh struggling so much, but to see Crosby still doing his thing. The Washington Capitals have re-signed goaltender Charlie Lindgren to a 3-year, $9 million contract extension. Lindgren's contract will carry an average annual value of $3 million. That was interesting to see. And also,
to put things in perspective, they're both their tandem is making less than Bobrovsky. I think so that's a pretty good bargain for that Washington team with not only Lindgren but Thompson playing as well as he has. So just a great thing they got going in Wash right now.
So also Taylor Hall is in talks with the Hurricanes for an extension. What do you think that deal would look like, Biz? I think it goes back to our interview with him and him just being so grateful for playing in the NHL and wanting to win. I would assume he wouldn't be trying to break the bank or anything.
No, I'd probably say like a 2-year, 4-year.
Yeah. He scored his first goal with the Hurricanes recently. I was happy to see for that. Yeah, I think something like that. 2 years at 4 to 5.5 a year.
Yeah, he's going to be your like 5th to 7th best forward on the team. So he should be making about $4 million. If he makes a little more, good for him. But I think that all he cares about, kind of like when he went to Boston, is just being in a winning culture, being part of a fun group of guys, and riding out like fuck, man. The guy got drafted first overall. He's got a Hart Trophy. Came within, Stanley Cup's the last thing he needs to add to his mantle. So, it's a good opportunity being in Carolina, and he gets to ride it out in a place where he's not under the microscope. I'm sure it wasn't that fun of a time, his time in Chicago, especially losing as much as he was. So it's all about just your environment now. So good for him. And didn't he just have a kid, right?
Yeah, his son. I think he might be approaching a year. But yeah, it was good to sit down with him, and I'm happy, man. He's got a chance to get into the playoffs and make a little noise, and I hope he re-signs there. He has moved around a lot too. So yeah. I think for him, it's like he's there. He probably wants, all right, let me sign here. So hopefully that works out for him. Oli Mata signed a 3-year extension with Utah. That's a 3.5 AAV for him. Solid. Utah has been coming on strong, man. That Clayton Keller, since he didn't make Four Nations roster, he's been on a tear. I think he was first star of the week last week in the NHL. So Oli Mata, another guy
who's been playing solid too. He's starting to come along. Schmaltz had a slow start, but he's been buzzing too. So, yeah, they got a lot of jam going there. I actually had dinner the other night with Ryan Smith. He was in
really?
Arizona. Yeah, I brought him to Houston's.
No shit. You got him jumped.
Yeah. No. I brought him there for security reasons. But no, it was good chatting to him, man, and he's thrilled. And obviously he's looking to make a splash in the offseason too, not shy to spend money, and really just continuing to integrate like the multi-sport. Like he's going to get something going with the basketball and the hockey, and continue to grow U Sports there in Utah, which is, as he explains, an unreal community to live. And he loves it there.
Brutal news for Devils fans. I think the Devils are like 9-12-3 in their last 24 games after an incredible start to the year. And the most upsetting thing for all is Jack Hughes was injured against Vegas on Sunday. Kind of a scary looking injury. We don't really know if it's wrist, if it's shoulder. He was going off the ice in a really awkward position. I saw a tweet, don't know if it's true or not, that Luke Hughes was pretty emotional after the game. And Jack Hughes has been through all these different injuries, and what an incredible player. But Pasha, I mean, this guy, and let's go. So the bet we made. Now, I hated making this bet. The bet popped up where Pasha was ranting and raving about how amazing he was 3 years ago, and I actually didn't realize how good he was then. I didn't understand. I hadn't seen him play that much. And Pasha's like, he's a superstar. He's going to be top 5 player in the league. And I said, and this was solely because I was just like, I want to argue with Pasha right now. I said, oh, no, he's not that good. He's not that good. And we ended up making a bet that he had to get 100 points in one of the next 3 seasons. Okay? Now, then I started watching more closely, and I was like, holy shit, I love watching this guy play. I hate that I have this bet. Now, part of the bet was that I just can't stand Pasha and wanted to bet against him. And then part of it was that he is kind of slight. And I was like, I don't know if he'll be able to stay healthy for 82 games, Like, even though he's as incredible as he is, to get 100 points, you got to play at least 75 games, right? Like, and so we made the bet. In the first year, he got 99 points. And I was like, holy shit, I'm screwed. I am absolutely screwed in this thing. And I was bummed out because, like, I like watching the guy play, and he's American. I'm rooting for him. And now I'm like, I don't want him to get 100 points. But I was like, whatever. And then last year he gets hurt. Okay? He gets hurt. So now I'm 2 years in. And so going into this season, I said to Pasha, I said, listen, dude, I don't want a part of this bet anymore. I love the guy's one of my favorite players to watch. So dynamic, fast. He's exactly like a new NHL type superstar. I want to get out of this bet. I'll pay you $2,500. Now, to me, if you make a bet with a buddy, right, you pay your bets always, but you make a bet with a buddy and he's offering you, 90% of the payout, just so that I could root him on and enjoy watching him, you'd take it, no? Would you take that bet?
You'd think.
You'd think. But as Biz said in the group chat, you know the old saying, Pasha, pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. And this asshole said no to me. Oh, man, this guy is down.
Oh, you look like you're down
This guy
bad.
is down. And now looking back, Pasha, as friends, as like two, like I love you. And I know we've become close. Like $2,500. Like what were you thinking?
Warning, the following statements are about to be made by a deranged Devils fan. The views expressed are his and his only. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt because, remember, he is a deranged Devils fan.
I was just going to say, like, don't even bother rolling a disclaimer. Like, there's nothing to say. I barely slept last night. Like, woke up, had 5 seconds of peace before I remember what happened again. Day ruined. This is just like living in a nightmare. Seems like every year this happens. Like, I almost puked watching the game last night, and like, wait, I don't give a fuck about the bet. I don't care about the money.
I know you don't.
I just care about like this excitement of the season's been sucked out. I was looking at places to rent in Jersey, go for the playoffs. I don't even know if they're going to make it anymore. Even if they do, like, they're not going to do shit.
He was
without
looking
Jack.
at penthouses in Hoboken, thinking not only was going to win your bet, but he was going to ride out this playoff run there, being a content factory. And I don't even know if they're going to make it out of the first round at this point.
I don't know if they're even going to make playoffs at this point. They've alternated wins and losses the last 12 games. That's with Jack, like, lighting it up. They're so fucked.
Dude, hey, he was catching. I was like, this thing's over. Like, he was 2 points a game every game lately.
They're so fucked. I just like season's over. I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to say. I'm in shock. It's a fucking joke. Yeah.
Now, I did read reports this morning that it maybe wasn't as bad as it originally looked. Now, was that false?
I know. I saw one tweet from like a Team Beat reporter that he's flying back to Jersey and he's heard it might not be as severe as people think.
That's
but
huge.
what does that mean? Like, instead of fucking 4 to 6 months, it's 2 months, 3, like, you know, who knows?
No, I maybe they take a look and it's a month and he's ready to go.
Yeah, like, to me, like, if he's ready for game 1 of the playoffs, I'll take that as a win right now. But to me, it just looked so scary that even that seems like a big if. And again, like, we've seen it with him in the past, even when he comes back from these shoulder injuries or wrist, I don't know which one it is, it takes him a while to get going. And like, they're not going to have enough runway for him to like get back up to speed. They're so fucked, boys. The only flash of positivity I can see is if it is one of those things where it's 6-7 weeks. I think playoffs are 7 weeks away. If he's out 4, 5, 6 weeks and Fitzy somehow uses the LTIR thing to load up and then Jack comes back and kind of doesn't miss a beat, that's the only silver lining of this. But I am not very optimistic. I think
so. That's what I was going to ask you. It probably looks like they're going to end up playing Carolina, right? So not going to be an easy.
Buddy, I think it's more likely that they end up slide to a wild card or even like they might miss, dude. Like they're so fucked without him. Like they already could not score. Like they have the goaltending, they have the defense. Even though Siegenthaler, their best defensive defenseman's been out, they just can't score. Scoring has been their problem, which has been the opposite of them the last couple of years. So you take Jack away. I mean, fuck me. Like.
So they're 8 points up on the Rangers. The Rangers do have 2 games in hand. I would think with Markstrom and the D that they'll be okay to hold on to that. And it's like I don't mind them at all against Carolina. Now, granted, that's with Jack Hughes. But I've kind of seen, and now this is Twitter, this is hockey Twitter, but like Devils fans seem to be all over Tom Fitzgerald a little bit, where I'm like, I don't really see that.
That's crazy. They're talking about fire Fitzy, this and that. Like, to me, that's crazy. I've loved the moves
Frank
that
the
he's
Tank
made.
talking.
No, it's more than Frank.
Oh, it's more biz.
Yeah, like nowadays, like you act like they act like they've lost 20 games in a row. Like I said, they've alternated wins and losses for 12 games in a row now, which is for a team as good as they should be. That's still pathetic. They're just kind of treading water. But like people are talking fire Fitzy. To me, it's crazy. Like their biggest needs are top 6 winger and a bottom 6 center. Those are easily addressable with the kind of the resources they have, the picks and prospects. So to me, like when Jack was healthy, this team was a couple very doable moves away from being an absolute wagon. The fire Fitzy stuff is crazy.
So
crazy.
So I would say that the Palat signing has been underwhelming. I'd say that the Timo Meier trade and signing has been underwhelming. Now, Timo Meier's the type of guy in playoffs, like he is a power forward. He is solid below the goal line in the offensive zone. He's the type of guy who will go to the crease. Like, are those 2 that really stand out? What are the other ones that you're not happy with?
No, I mean, I would have liked to see more from Meyer, but I've never, in my 20 plus years of being a hockey fan, see a guy be as snake bitten as Meyer. I think he's dead last in the league in goals scored under expected. He's driven play the whole season. He doesn't get power play one time. He's been playing third line most of the season. I think he's one guy that'll benefit from Hughes being out. He'll be put on that first power play. I think he had 15 goals in 19 games in March last year. I think we're going to see a similar offensive explosion, or they're going to need that from him to stay afloat. So I think Meyer actually has been a beast despite the goals not being there. I'm not worried about Meyer. The Palat deal, yeah, sure. But again, to me, that play he made in Game 7 that won them that against the Rangers, I don't care if he's the worst contract on the team, whatever. Making $6 million, bury him, buy him out, whatever, cap going up. And if that's the biggest blemish on Fitzy, whatever.
What do you think? And he's only 22 years old, but I kind of thought a little bit more from Dawson Mercer this year. Do you see it on a cup team? Is he a third liner, or do you still think there's more to his game?
He's been very disappointing. I will put part of that on his usage. I think the numbers when he plays with Jack have been really good. He's not a play driver. He's a complimentary guy. He needs a guy like Jack to sort of drive the line and he'll finish. But that's no excuse. He has been very, very disappointing. Probably the biggest disappointment of the season, along with Simone Nemeth.
Yeah. And then lastly, this Kovacevic, who no one really expected anything out of, all of a sudden he starts playing with Siegenthaler, and they're one of the best shutdown pairs in the league. Since Siegenthaler's been out, it's kind of been pretty apparent that he was carrying Kovacevic a little bit. That's what I've seen, and it kind of, now you're like, oh, do we re-sign this guy? Where before there was a lot of talk about extending him.
Pasha was calling him Kovechkin.
Well, that was Keefe after Game 1.
Oh.
But no, wait, you're bang on with that. And I think the expectation was okay, well, is it going to be him or Nemeth? Because there's only so many slots available on the right-handed side. I think it might help them in the long run, not sort of giving him a big deal based on a really good 40, 50 games. So we'll see. I think the jury reigns out on kind of what kind of player he truly is for them. But I mean, listen, for what they got him for, he's been great.
I feel for you, Pasha, and that is no exaggeration. If people think we're joking about how much this guy loves the Devils, he has never missed a second of a game when I've been with him. He lives and dies with this team. And I was actually excited for what they were doing at the beginning of the year too, based on how fun they are to watch. Sheldon Keefe came over and it was holy shit. They are not only good now, but they're set for the next 5-6 years. I still think that's the case, but what has transpired has been a disappointment for Devils fans and hockey fans. I know if you're a Rangers fan, you hate the Devils.
And also not to just add to the doom and gloom, but at some point, this is a bigger career type concern for Hughes. How many times can he hurt his shoulders?
We're hoping it's not shoulder. I'd
rather be broken wrist and he's back 4 to 6 weeks type thing, hopefully. But you know what? You start to have to kind of wonder how many times can this guy hurt his shoulders before it's a bigger picture concern. So maybe that's just my shock and negativity talking right now, but very, very rattled.
Good news. You got Dallas tomorrow.
Oh, Jesus. Any consolation, your hair looks incredible. Your tan looks great. Your beard
Pasha.
looks manicured. You look like a model right now.
We have another thing that'll brighten your day. A sponsor of ours, BetterHelp.com.
Oh, nice.
Go to BetterHelp.com.
Oh, I thought it was a meme coin sponsorship.
There's over 30,000 therapists online. So check them out, and we'll talk to you soon, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Poor Pasha. And
wow, he was in the dumps.
If you think I enjoyed that bet, I was this sucks. I hated it. But I offered him $2,500.
I think he would have rathered his girlfriend break up with him than what happened.
Hey, 1,000%.
1,000,000%. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on the road with this guy, and he's got his phone. Penalty. It's
crypto
holy
wallet.
shit.
Game 34.
Buy greed, Whit. Buy greed. So it really stinks. That kind of leads us over. I want to give a congrats to Kevin BX's son, Cole. He signed with the Coquitlam Express in the BCHL.
Oh, nice.
Juice is an awesome dude. I think he's also coached his son a little bit. And so it's cool to see his son will be going to the BCHL. I love that guy. And I'm rooting for Cole. Good luck, buddy. And we interviewed Ryan Kesler, boys. We're going to throw it over to him. So he is the coach of the 2010 Little Caesars team. They're the number one team in the country.
They could beat the Blackhawks right now.
They are a wagon, needless to say, like an absolute wagon. And we wanted to have them on because a story went viral. They played Bell Tire. They won 43-0. 43-0. It caused. And when you listen to the interview, he mentions that there was a goal they didn't count.
This is like Alabama playing Davenport University in football.
Yeah,
online school.
I saw it and I was like, holy shit. And I kind of just immediately felt really bad for the kids on Bell Tire. But I wanted to talk to Kes and kind of get his side, get his viewpoint of everything. So without us going into it, let's throw it over to Ryan Kesler right now, who is coaching a team who, they may be in the NHL next season. So NHL veteran, Ryan Kesler. What up, guys? Time to talk about DraftKings. The NHL season has been as predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going. We got the deadline coming up. Who's getting traded where? What assets are getting traded where? Whose favorite players going to another team? And all that brings back to DraftKings. But there's more time for you now to figure things out because DraftKings is here for you. The DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, is at your fingertips with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. The NHL is the fastest game on ice, and you can make it fast with live bets during any game on the DraftKings Sportsbook. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something very simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up right now. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code Chiclets. That's code Chiclets for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. We are now joined by Ryan Kesler. 1,001 regular season games, many playoff games, hell of a player, and now the coach of the number one team in the country for 2010 birth years. That's Little Caesars Hockey Club. They were in the news this past week. They were in the news. Hell of a wagon they have here. Kes, how you been, buddy? What's going on?
I've been good. Took a lot of heat for that one, and I wasn't even in the state. I had some business to attend to in California, so I watched that one at Joey's on my phone, and saw that beating. Yeah, it was. It's too bad. You know, that's not a game we set up. It's actually a playoff game. That's our league, and we have 8 teams in our league, and unfortunately, USA Hockey in playoffs make you play all 48 minutes, and there's no run time, there's no mercy rule. But in the regular season, there is a mercy rule. So after 2 periods, if you're up by 15 goals, the game's just over. And if you score your 15th in the 3rd period, the game's over. It was, and with it being playoffs, our team's geared up. This is what you play your whole season for is state playoffs. And, you know, we will have some competitive games here next weekend in the semis and hopefully the finals. And then 3 weeks after that, we're looking to win another state or another national championship.
Foot on their throats, man. Don't let up. Could we explain the backstory here, Whit? I feel like it made national news. A lot of conversation these days about minor hockey and how it's handled, and maybe some parents being a little bit too intense about it. So, Whit, I'll hand it over to you to explain the final score. Maybe some backlash from some of the parents. Some of
what
the
were the
parents
shots?
143-0. I saw.
They didn't get a shot.
You should change your name to the No Limit Soldiers.
They actually forgot a goal. We actually won 44-0.
Okay.
And the shots were 121.
Was Datsuk in the lineup?
All right. Well, let's get into.
We got a hell of a staff. Our staff's ran by myself, Alex Tanguay, who I think runs a 38% power play percentage with the Red Wings right now, and he does our power play as well. We have Brian Sippets, who played like 10 years for the Chicago Wolves. You got Chris Connor, who played 250 NHL games. So our staff is knows what it takes. And all these kids are so dedicated. They want to win, and they want to make it to the NHL like all of us did. So to have them take a game off is non-negotiable.
They have an analytics guy. Actually, Pasha's doing their under the hood analytics.
Yeah,
they have a
I saw
massage therapist as well that travels with the team. Dietitian.
You guys are gonna laugh, but we do have iPads on the bench. And
No.
and that live stream, and we do have sensors on the boys.
Do you have a video coach?
Well, we have a guy filming.
It's
yeah.
Lalonde.
And my brother as well. My brother helps out with us, and he does all the tech. I run it, and our staff runs it like a professional organization. And I think that's where all the heat comes from. I take pride in it. My staff takes pride in it, and we give the kids as much as we need. Brian Sippett's our D coach, runs his own gym, Advantage Strength. So the boys are dialed in with the workouts. They're dialed in with the video. They're dialed in on the power play. Nutrition. We have a nutritional coach, which is also Brian Sippett. So we have everything that they need, and we just expect hard work and the ability to come to the rink and be coachable. And that's what they all do.
You got them on peptides? Like, are the kids doing injections or anything? Or?
I heard about that stuff. I haven't tried it yet.
So get back to the game, and obviously I've kind of heard a lot about this team. Like this, obviously it's the number one team in the country. These kids will be turning 15 in 2025, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So I think that it was kind of split. I saw on social media once it went viral. It was like a lot of people like, hey, like this is legit hockey. These kids are 15 years old. It's not like they're 8 and 9. And then the other side was like, all right, at 20-0. Almost make it like I don't know, like a 10 pass rule or and it's really hard to just not score. What did the coach tell you after the game in terms of like what he was telling the guys? Like, was there ever a point where you're like, all right, guys, enough's enough?
They were playing with their sticks upside down when it went to 20-0.
They should have gone righty, lefty, right. I just feel for the other kids on the other team,
I
but like
too. I feel for them. You know, and to be honest, watching that game, none of those kids on the other side gave up, which is impressive, right?
That's awesome.
You weren't seeing kids crying on the ice or upset. You know, their backup goalie actually played D that game, so he dressed out as a defenseman. So they didn't even have a backup goalie that game to pull the kid, which I felt awful about. But
yeah, the backup's like, I ain't going into this game. I know what's coming.
One kid let out.
I heard all the things like play opposite hand. We're in state playoffs. I'm not going to have my team do any of that. I think playing keep away, I think that's disrespectful to the other team. And if you watch the game from goal 1 to game 43, the only 2 times that our team celebrated was in the third period when we had 2 kids that haven't scored in a while scored a goal. And that was not to throw that in their face. That was because they're happy for their teammate. They scored goal 1. They lined up. They did it again. There was no big hits. If you watch the game, there's one hit in the game maybe. So they're not taking other kids' heads off. They're being respectful. They're not chirping them. They understand that, you know, it's going to be a lopsided game. But I was proud of the way our boys handled it, and they were super respectful. With playing under a name like Little Caesars. Brian Ralston's the hockey director, and being associated with the Red Wings, I think it's important that we have the utmost respect on the ice.
Did every kid on the team score?
Yes.
And how many points did the leading scorer in the game get?
I want to say like 10, maybe. Okay. So it was
double
10
digits.
points is a lot, but you look at the score and it was spread out throughout the lineup. It wasn't like one line was doing it. And that's the thing with my team. There's no drop off. You know, from forward 1 to forward 10, I can play anybody, and our staff feels comfortable playing anybody against. Like, we don't match lines. We just go out and next man up. We take pride as a staff in developing all 18 kids. A lot of kids, there are a lot of teams in youth that they focus on their 5 best players, and if they don't give them ice time, they're leaving to go to the next team. And that's just not the way we coach. We coach as, we're going to teach every kid how to be on the power play. We're going to teach every kid how to kill, because, you know, even me, we played different positions too. The first time I played wing was with Matt Sundin in Vancouver, and I had no idea how to play on the wall, like no clue. Like, I was always a centerman. So the ability to gain these traits and develop over the course of a few years and maybe pick up something that you learn or you have to have in your bag down the road to help advance your career is something that we all believe in as a staff.
Should those kids who they played against be playing AAA? And was there any backlash from their coaching staff or their parents, or were they okay with it and saying, hey, sometimes in life your kid needs to get a licking and it's a good learning lesson and you got to go hit the gym like the other teams do and go pay attention more to the power play and maybe the little details? Because some people might, like, these kids are turning 15 years old. It's not like we're talking about 8, 9 years olds. Like you're about to hit, getting draft eligible to junior age.
Yeah. They've had a challenging year, to say the least. They've lost some pretty lopsided games, and I give it to their coach. Their coach is a great guy. He talked to me after the game, and he talked to me yesterday, and he wished us nothing but the best. And he coached his last game yesterday. I think there's a new team coming in for that team next year. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I don't think that team's going to be a team next year.
So I saw recently that you were hired, kind of explained with the National Team Development Program. Now, I'm guessing with your past playing for, you representing your country, playing there and doing all the things you did, that has something to do with it. And maybe possibly because there's got to be, I don't know, 5, 6 kids that will probably make that team in 2 years, the under-17 team?
Yeah.
That you're coaching now?
I would say at least 5 or 6, I would expect, but you never know.
Wow.
We have some good players and some players that are climbing the ranks quickly. We have some kids that are very dedicated and they work out. They're crazy, way crazier than my own son's a nut job. He works out like 7 days a week on his own, which is bizarre to me. But looking at that U17 team, if we have 5 or 6 guys, I wouldn't be surprised, but I bet you we could have more and we could have less because, I know they like to pick from around the country.
And what are you doing for the program? Did I see that correct or no?
I used to be like a volunteer assistant coach a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
For Adam Nightingale. Adam coaches Michigan State now. And he's a great coach. He taught me a lot. It was a great experience. And then when he left, the new coaching staff just didn't want me there, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that means Riker's going to the O.
Yeah, no, not so much. They didn't want me there. It was more like they wanted me to be a video coach and do a bunch of video, and I was fine with that. But I didn't like it. I'd rather be on the ice with the kids and helping them and developing them. And, especially watching that 4 Nations tournament in that first game, I was loving that. That brought back a lot of memories, and it makes me it brings you back to playing for the Olympics and playing for your country, and I'd love to get in with coaching with the national team again for sure.
Kes, how many other programs at that age around the country do you think are running it the way that you guys are running it? Like, are you talking to anyone else? Because you just brought up the 4 Nations. Like, there's obviously like a resurgence almost of American hockey, right? Like there's a lot of popularity and buzz going right now. And I'm sure we're going to see tons of players coming out of the States because of it. College hockey's growing like crazy, especially the viewership. So are you in contact with these other programs that are running it like you and as hardcore and invested?
Yeah. Who were the top 5 2010s after you guys?
Shattuck St. Mary's. So I don't know anything about their program. We haven't played them yet this year. We tried to link up. It just, with us being so far away from each other, it just didn't happen. Mount St. Charles, which is another prep school out east. Boston Minutemen, which is a kind of a split season team. They're up there, and I can't even tell you after that. They changed so much. Yeah. I know Buffalo's has a good team. Dallas, Bishop Kearney, BK Selects has a good team. But I would say out of the top 10 teams can compete, and then after that, there's a bit of a drop off.
Now, will these kids go and play high school and still play for you, like how we used to play the split seasons type stuff, or is it they're with you?
Season.
Okay.
Yeah, we are full season. Out east is still like that. So like Boston Minutemen, they all go play for their prep schools. I'm not sure how, you probably can speak more on that, but I'm not sure how that all works. I know talking to the Boston Minutemen coach, he has a really good team. We have one goal games all the time with them, and he lost his team to split season. So they all like disperse and then they come back together for nationals.
Keith, that's like Colin's team, your nephew. Yeah, the Junior Eagles, the 2009s. They play, fall and spring, and then in the winter they're all at their prep schools and stuff. So it is different. It's always been a little different for Michigan as opposed to Massachusetts area kids with the full season stuff. But
all the tier 1 teams play under different rules. It's bizarre. So like we are only allowed to have 5 kids from out of state. You have to be born in Michigan. So we have our 5 players from out of state, but a team like, Shattuck, I think they only have 2 kids from Minnesota, or another tier 1 team doesn't have any rules at all and they can have every kid from out of state. So I would wish that tier 1 would just have one set of rules for all the teams and make it even across the board. We have a bunch of good Michigan players on our team, and people call us an all-star team, but we're really not. We're just playing under the rules.
Kes, it was kind of a tough back half to your career with the hip injury and getting surgery and stuff like that. And I'm sure you had your struggles in post-retirement. Would you be as invested if your kid wasn't playing? And has this whole coaching thing kind of gave you a purpose in the second part of your life?
If my kid wasn't playing, I don't think I'd be coaching at this level. I think I would be involved in hockey for sure, but I don't think I'd be coaching at this level. Saying that, having a son and coaching and having the career taken away from me and having a tough, like at the end of my career, I hated hockey. I did. I hated going to the rink. I hated being in pain like that. Your mind thinks you can do it and your body's like, nope, next time. So I decided, to get the hip replacement and the ability to get offered a job and coach my son. And I didn't know if I was going to like it. I was like, no, even to the point where I'm like, don't call me coach, just call me Kes. I don't like the word coach, just call me Kes, because I was still in the player mindset, So, but I think it saved me, to be honest. And my passion grew for the game again. And you look at the game with a different lens now. Still the player lens, but you look at it as more of a development aspect on why you do certain things and how can I teach this, and how can you develop hockey IQ? How can you make your kids smarter on your team? And with the staff we have, we collaborate all the time, and there's no egos in that room. We get in FU fest all the time, and it's great. Like, we disagree, we agree, and we come out of that room with one message. And coaching has just saved me. I don't even know where I'd be without coaching right now. I felt lost after I was done playing. Obviously, I have a young family. I got 3 girls and a boy, and being an Uber driver wasn't something I thought I'd be doing, but that's my life, and the ability to have that was just my girl. She's going to hockey right now. So I got one girl in hockey too.
Oh boy. What birth year is she?
She just started. She goes to a skating coach, Stacy Barber. She's great. She's really hard on the kids.
Rafalski.
It's I don't even know what birth year she is. What is she? Of 2017. She's a 2017, so watch out.
Okay.
Bit of a late start.
You mentioned that your kid's hardcore, like he's the one pushing himself. Was it that way at an early age too, or did you try to instill that in him? He caught the bug, and then now he's running his own show. Like, how did you balance that? Because obviously you were very hardcore, in your approach to hockey.
Yeah, it kind of happened organically. It happened this year. I worked with an exercise physiologist during my career. The guy's out of Vancouver. His name's Ben Spohr. And I worked with him for probably the last 8-9 years of my career. And exercise physiologist is basically, he develops a program for you that you follow. He does your bike rides. it's basically idiot proofs being in shape for camp. So I didn't have to worry. I was a guy that always worried if I was doing too much or if I was not doing enough. I got to be in shape for camp. And I trusted him, and he works with Sam Reinhart. So like, you just got to be dedicated and you got to trust him. And I was in the best shape of my life in my 30s. And unfortunately, my hip went, but I felt like my game kept getting better as I was getting older up until a certain point. So my son, we went to a Vancouver tournament. He broke his hand. Didn't know he broke it. He broke it in the semifinals. He's like, Dad, I need ice. And his hand's like puffy. I'm like, you're fine. Because that's what Dad does. Yeah, you're fine. Played the final game completely fine. And like 2 days later, I'm like, yeah, it's broke. We got to go get an x-ray. So I just called Ben. I was like, can you give him some bike rides just to keep him in shape? And it kind of happened organically where my son asked if he could do this full time with him. And I'm like, I don't know. I think he only works with NHL guys, bud. And he took him on, and his game has progressed so much since working with him. And I'm hands off. And that's what I told him. I said, I'm not going to push you. If you need help, I'll help you. But if you want this, you have to do it. Because if you don't want it, like, why play for me? Like, I'm not going to live through you. I want you to succeed. So if you're going to succeed, work with him. And he did. And I think he learned the first couple bike rides that he can see every stroke of his pedal on the stationary bike, because he kind of cheated it a little bit. And he's like, hey, what happened on the bike ride? And then he knew, like, oh no, okay. And he kills it, man. I'm so proud of him. And I'm not a dad that there's dads out there that think their son's better than what they are. I'm not that dad. I see all his flaws. I don't see see what he's good at.
Have you ever thought of pulling a Deion Sanders like him, like just kind of going with your son? With
I was kind of going to ask
career?
that. No shit. You're gonna miss it so much.
Wouldn't you rather him learning from you? I mean, no offense, there's great coaches out there, but
let's sign a 15-year-old to the Gargoyles. We'll let you be the head coach.
I mean, I would
want.
love to. I love doing it. I love spending time with them. Let's just say I wouldn't say no if I got asked, but saying that, he does take a lot of heat. He takes a ton of heat for me coaching, and with me being who I am, he gets it from not only the kids, but he gets it from the parents in the stands too. And it's just, he's learning how to deal with it, and he's doing a better job. And he realizes that, it's all because the name on his back, and he has to go out and prove them all wrong. And he's doing it. He's doing a good job of it.
I mean, I played with Chris Bork growing up, and I remember him getting tortured by kids. Everyone wanted to take their liberties on him. Yeah, you hear people in the stands yelling at. It was brutal, and it drove him too. So I can imagine the same way you're talking about your son, that it's going to drive him as well.
Yeah, it definitely is. It is crazy what comes out of some people's mouths.
Fuck, you ever get in a Donnybrook or almost in the crowd? If I had a guy a grown man chirping my kid, I'd fucking pump his eyes shut.
Unless he was an Irish traveler.
I've never gotten into a fight. I've gotten into a couple of screaming matches, but it's more because the parents are screaming at me, telling me like, fuck you. And it's like, buddy, I'll put you in a body bag. Like, come on.
Let's go. I might start watching these games on my phone with
Live Barn.
Yeah. I was going to ask, with the changing of the rules, now that you can go play junior and then you can also go off to college, is the OHL, CHL something that you guys would consider? What do you think the path would be in order for him to keep going here?
You know what? I don't know. He really wants to play for the U.S. national team, like every kid at this age. But if he doesn't, he'll probably go to the OHL or USHL or wherever. I just want him in a good situation, somewhere where he's living in a great place. He's playing for a good team, getting coached by a good coach, and developing. And I think we all know, like, I'm not coaching my kid to make it to the NHL. If he does, great, but it's such a small percentage that make it there. I just want him to play as long as as he can and have as much fun as he can, because those are some of my best memories in my life is sitting around the locker room with 23 dudes and shooting the shit and making fun of each other and going to dinners, all that stuff. That's the stuff you remember at the end of it all.
You mentioned, in all these kids, they want to play in the NHL. You just brought up how hard it is to make it. So it's like, how do you balance the line with your son and your team? You never want to remind them how difficult it is going to be to make it and how maybe one or two of those kids will, but you also want them to be like realistic, or am I wrong in that? It's more just like you're pushing towards as good as you can become and don't worry about 5-10 years from now. Like, how does it work with talking to kids about their future? Is it more just day to day?
I'm a big believer in goal setting, so I have them set goals, and I used to do it in my career, even on a game-to-game basis, because it becomes monotonous throughout the year, right? You sit down, you create 5 points that you want to focus on that game, and it's not goals and assists. It's like, I want to be under the puck. I want to be 65% in the face-off circle. Something that's not driven by goals and assists, but just playing the right way. Things you can focus on. Maybe it's a power play system that you're doing that night, something like that. And I would really just, what I do with the boys is I tell them, win the day, win the practice. Let's get better today. If you didn't get better today, you're going backwards, because everybody, like, we're a target. Our slogan is everybody hates us and we don't care. Like, we know that. It's true. Like, we walk in the building and
that's been your slogan since you fucking put on the skates, Kes.
Yeah, we're a team that plays hard. We're a team that plays hard. We compete. We play 200 feet, and we can beat you. We can outskill you. We can out-hit you. We can out-skate you. And that's a tribute to them buying in. That's a tribute to them working so hard, because they all go to a hockey academy together, and they all do so much effort that there's not a chance that anyone's going to catch these kids. Like, they work too hard. There's no one that works harder than these kids. It's crazy to me how much work and how much time these kids are on the ice.
Kind of what I take away from this, Whit and Jans, is kind of, there's two approaches. Some people might be like, oh, let these guys be kids and just play and have fun. But like, some of these kids want to make something of themselves and they want to approach it differently. And it's also setting a good precedent for life, man. Life's fucking hard. So that's your approach. What are maybe some approaches that you don't agree with or don't like that a lot of minor hockey teams or programs are taking that you disagree with? That might be a vague question and a very long laundry list, but is there anything that you see where you're like, this is no good?
No, that's a good question.
He hates the mercy rule.
I hate when people are quick to judge. For me, I coach to help develop 18 kids, and we get a bad rap because we're hard on the kids, but we respect the kids, and we coach not to win, but we coach to, like, teach and develop. That's why we have the iPads on the bench. We don't have the iPads on the bench to show off to the other team. I think it's the best coaching tool there is, because you actually see your mistake, or you see what you're doing well, or to be honest, you can see what the other team's doing on the PK. Like, here, look at what they're doing. They're pressing 3 guys high. We had to move the puck low. Something like that, right? I just don't like coaches that play the same 5 guys on the power play every time. Like, they're 14 years old. I think I have 6 kids with over 180 points this year. 6. That's because I don't have five guys that are going out on the power play first every time. Our job as a coaching staff is not to develop 5 kids. That's not my job. I committed to 18. And we have a goalie coach that comes every practice. That's not normal in AAA hockey. You might see it once a week, if lucky. I thought, why do I have goalies just be a shooter tutor? I could just put 2 shooter tutors in the net and they'd be fine. They're not learning anything. And meanwhile, we have 6 player coaches on the ice that are developing and teaching. So I thought it was important when I first started to bring in a goalie coach that was full-time. I just feel like too many coaches only care about 5 kids, and they want to put the best 5 kids out there, which I get. You got to win, but I know I'm here, whatever our record is, saying I don't care about winning. I don't. I mean, we just beat a team 2-0 yesterday in the state playoffs that they played a good game and we needed it. We got kicked in the teeth. We should have lost that game. And I wish we would have lost that game because it would have reset our group. And the last time we lost was November 24th.
Who beat you?
Mississauga Senators.
Grand Rapids Griffins.
Yeah.
They played the Golden
Grand
Knights.
Rapids. Yeah.
Overtime.
This
How
is
many
awesome,
of these
man.
kids, out of curiosity, because so I have a 2017, and you wonder, and you see kids that are really good, right? They're 7, turning 8, and then it's funny because some kids like Jack Eichel and Noah, like these kids, they were the best when they were 6, and they're the best when they're 20. And then you see kids who were bad when they're 6, 7 that turn into good players, and then they turn bad again. And then you see, what range have you seen since the kids you're with now were at a very young age? Because that's the thing that you notice is like, it's such a development is not linear, right? It's just so up and down for so many different kids. What have you seen since these kids were much younger?
Like you said, they have ups and downs throughout the year. Some days you're like, wow, this kid can play. And other days you're like, did I make a mistake on this kid? What is he doing out there? But I think it's very rare to see a kid that's a stud at 2017 level, like your son, be a stud later. I just think if you're good at that level, it's because you skate faster than everybody else. And you can just go in and then you flick the puck over the goalie's shoulder. You don't even shoot it. It's like a flick into the top of the net. I see right now what's separating guys is skating ability, not how fast you are, but just being deceptive and elusive, like skating ability and then hockey sense.
Why do you think it's disappearing a little bit? When you talk to scouts and you talk to people, like they're like, God, less kids have it. And you're in the midst of, 14, 15-year-olds. Like, what have you seen?
I think it's all because of social media. I think they get their 5-second clip that they see the goal scored, but they don't see what lead. And I just don't think kids watch enough hockey games. I made it a rule for my team this year. Every night you watch one period of hockey, just one. Watch one period of hockey and then don't watch the puck. Watch what's going on in the game. And that's how you learn. Like, you don't learn from turning on Instagram and seeing a 5-second highlight reel of your favorite player. We do kind of like book reports on games. I'll have someone pick their favorite player and watch them and tell them 5 things he did good and 2 things he did bad. You are right. I think it is disappearing because the kids are so worried about skills and they don't realize that the best skill you can have is a next level mind. I played with 2 guys that were brothers that their minds were unbelievable. Their hockey IQ was off the charts, and they taught me so much during my career. And just watching them, you can just see how well and how quickly they see the game.
Kes, thank you so much. This is awesome. I love getting this insight about the minor stuff. Now, if we can shift topics, if Kesler is in the locker room with the Vancouver Canucks this year, and you got JT Miller and Pettersson with whatever was going on there, how are you handling that when you're in that locker room?
Didn't back in the day we used to do helmets and gloves? Locker box.
That's when I knew. I'm like, oh fuck, I don't know if I got this, dude. Fighting Donnie Grover, getting my head punched in.
Hey, I got my face punched in a couple times.
Hey, they put me in with Nathan Horton when I was 13. The guy who was fucking benching 250 pounds. He looked like a grown man. I got my fucking shit pushed in. But I'll throw it back over to you. I mean, that was just a crazy situation. Obviously, JT ends up getting traded, but I don't know if you'd ever seen anything like that, but how would you have handled it?
I definitely haven't seen anything that's been that public before, right? Like there's rifts in the locker room throughout the year, but nothing to that scale. I've met both of them. I don't know them personally. I haven't heard the real story, or I've heard versions of stories, but I don't even know what happened. But it's a tough one. You have 2 of your star players that allegedly can't get along, and they go toe to toe basically, and then it gets out in the media, and it's I know that Vancouver market, and they definitely they love the drama, which is fine. Like, it's a hockey market, and you got to have something to talk about, right? And that definitely grew, and I think it really hurt their team this year. I watched them play Anaheim when I was in California, and they don't look like the same team they did last year.
Would you have tried to take them both out to dinner together? Like, would you have tried to mend the relationship? Like, I don't know if that was done with any guys in their team or if you'd heard that, but like,
I mean, you would think so, right? Like, that would be my first thought, is like, let's get these two guys in a room. Let's take them out. Like, let's go have drinks with them. Like, it might make things worse, but hey, maybe that's what we need. Maybe we just need a sucker punch and we're good the next day. I'm guessing they exhausted all options, because I'm guessing they did not want to trade JT Miller. I don't know, but I'm guessing they didn't want to. And they probably didn't want to trade Petey either.
When you're watching hockey now, are there any teams that stand out to you like, Jesus, like they're kind of my horse for this season? Or are you actually, like, how much hockey are you watching still? I mean, it sounds like you're pretty busy with your own team.
I saw Biz go off the handle last night. I was laughing about that.
What do you mean? Oh, let the bodies hit the floor. That band like posted on our Instagram, and they like retweeted it and stuff. Yeah.
I love it. No, I watch hockey. I got a setup downstairs where I can watch 4 games at once. So I love to be a student of the game still, and I love watching it. I was never really a hockey nerd when I played, but I kind of am now. I just love seeing the talent. But a dark horse for me, I would say Florida, but with the injury to Chuck, I don't know. Let's go with the Red Wings. They're buzzing right now. They're buzzing.
It's actually sick to see them good again. And
I don't know if they're going to be able to get over the penalty at Stadium Series game. They're fucking all crying online. Edmondson got tripped. He got high-sticked in the visor.
Yeah, they lost 2 important games there, but they've been playing good, man. They're a well-coached team, and I played for Trent Yawning, so and obviously I know Tangs, so I'm pulling for those guys.
Kes, we can't thank you enough. For the people who are upset about the 43-0 beatdown, actually 44, the slogan is, everyone hates us and we don't care. So good luck to you guys in the Nationals and the state tournament, and we'll be catching up with you soon, dude. Thanks.
Yeah, good talking to you guys.
Thank you very much to Ryan Kesler. They have iPads on the bench, boys.
Did you tell everyone that next week we're interviewing Doug from Detroit? He's a dad on the Bell Tire team, so we're going to get his point of view on how the game really went.
How about he's like, I wasn't at the game. I was watching on my phone in California. Get him. As Coach Riley said, it ain't worth winning if you can't win big for the Hawks and Mighty Ducks. 43-0 is 44. Sorry, that's a crazy beatdown. But you know what the coolest thing about that is that he said that those Bell Tire kids, there was 0 quitting any of them. So I know that sucks if any of those kids are listening, but good for you. And better times ahead. Better times ahead. So, guys, that about wraps it up. So we got 4 Nations Chiclets TV. That's coming out this Thursday at noon on the Spittin Chiclets YouTube. The next Thursday at noon is the rematch. The rematch heard around the world. Spittin Chiclets versus Bob Does Sports. Please go to Bob Does YouTube. Watch our first match if you haven't, so you're ready and prepared for the rematch. That'll be next Thursday on our YouTube. And the Thursday after that at noon will be Chiclets U at the University of Minnesota with the Golden Gophers.
Wow, we're fucking coming week after week after week with the YouTube.
3 awesome content pieces coming out the next 3 Thursdays at noon. Thank you so much for listening. Any final words for you guys?
Go Leafs, go.
Go Columbus, go.
I want to shoot that cannon right at your face.
No, he said hoop.
Oh, hoop. Okay, yeah, fair. He does like hoop play. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great week. Love you.